usually right about now, I think, is when, because it says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube, and it's like YouTube catches up slower than the others.
Yeah, there's a delay, like 20 seconds or something.
Yeah, something like that. Is this stuff like, is this like, uh, I was gonna ask you this. Is this like, I mean, like certain designs for bandanas and whatever, like there's paisley and stuff. I've always considered this to be like parameciums. Is that, do you think, or like bacteria?
Yeah, it kind of looks like them. Like
Yeah, yeah.
single cell
I don't know.
organisms.
Some sort of weird thing. Yeah. Somebody complimented me today on my. Actually, it was a person that was. I was picking up food for my family at the Noodles and Company just before I came back here, and the person who I called them. You pull up. I mean, I'm already gonna get into some of my grievances, but this is a relatively minor grievance. And then once there's more people here, I really want to let loose on a grievance that's really fucking driving me crazy lately. But anyway, and I apologize. I'm already dropping F words. And this is my, you know what? First, the happy thing. I already mentioned this to Barry before we went live. Today is July 22nd. 13 years ago, my wife and I, on the 21st, late night, I was over at a buddy's house playing poker. My girlfriend at that time, not even my fiance, who was pregnant with our child, called me up and said that she was in pain, and so she was only, she was not very, she was only she was due in October, and this was July, and so I raced home. We got her, and we raced to the hospital because she was having pains in her stomach and stuff like that. And we got there, and then they said, you're having a baby, like super premature. Like they couldn't stop it, they couldn't do anything. So my daughter was born. She weighed 2 pounds 9 ounces at birth. Her skull was about the size of an orange. So I mean, it's just like to give you like and not one of those big giant grapefruit type oranges, like a standard kind of small, not like a cutie either. I mean, but like a. Anyway, the long story short is my daughter turned 13 today, which is huge because anyway, that's huge. She's 13. Like, I mean, a couple of years I'll be teaching her how to drive. Right now she's got her best friend in the whole wide world. Friend Zephyr is over here, and they're about like 25 feet away, being giggly 13-year-old girls talking about heaven knows what. But yeah, so that's pretty awesome. My daughter's 13. When she was born, there was like basically a coin flip as to whether or not she would ever leave the hospital alive. So yeah, that's awesome. But anyway, minor grievance before other people show up and I can really let loose with my big major grievance that I got a problem with.
Okay.
So I went out. So today, and I'm not going to talk about earlier today when we went to grab something to eat. I'm going to talk about this most recent. So earlier today, that's going to be part of my bigger grievance that I'm gonna dive into. But anyway, so, and thank you to everybody who's saying happy birthday to my daughter. Appreciate that. If you go back, you can see her in some older videos that we did, like some kids games videos that we did together. But anyway, regardless to any of that, if you have a Noodles and Company nearby or whatever, I used my phone, ordered some noodles from the Noodles and Company for my daughter and her friend, salad for my wife, and I drove over there, and they have curbside pickup, and I go in there and pulled in. They have like little spots, and it says pull in here for your pickup curbside orders. Dial this number, hit 0. When you just say your name and where you're sitting. I've ordered from them probably a dozen times since the pandemic started. It's close to the house. You don't have to go in. They bring you the food. I call up. Admittedly, no. I mean, it was like 8:50. I put my order in at like 8:30 or whatever. And they close at 9. So I wasn't going to be that person who places an order at 8:50. But I called the number. They're all like, I remember working at pizza joints and it's 10 minutes to close and you get that phone call and everybody in the store goes, no, just like, why? We didn't, but of course somebody calls, whatever. So I'm pretty sure that was the reaction. But I just said, hey, this is my name. I placed an order for curbside to go. I'm in spot number 1. I like my food. And then this person said, well, actually, I'm looking, and you just said it for pickup. You know, there basically is like a little thing you click on to like have them bring the food out to you. You know, curbside to go. You just had it for pickup, so it's sitting here waiting for you. You can come and get it. And I was just like, I'd really rather not go in there. And it's, you know, could you just bring it out to me? I didn't click the little square. It's my fault. I apologize. Well, I mean, if you want to wait like 5 minutes because we're kind of busy doing other stuff. And I was just like, so then I said, fine, I'll wait. You know, because I was just like, you know what? It would take you 30 seconds to pick up that bag, walk outside, hand it to me, you know, and then it's just like, and I get it, you know, I don't know what kind of day they're having, but just do it. Just bring me the damn food. You know, this isn't like you know, I was freaking livid, and I was just, and immediately I've had a rough day, and I probably, if I hadn't had a super long ass day, then, you know, dealing with like my daughter's birthday and my son going crazy and just my family and everything else, I probably would have had a little bit more patience. But I was just like, just, is this the hill? Is this the hill you're gonna die on? Is this like you're gonna wait a few more minutes for your food? Because I just don't want to, like, because you didn't click this stupid little box when you put your online order in. And then immediately, it was about a minute later they brought it out. It wasn't 5 minutes, so it was totally like a call your bluff kind of thing, where it was like, you know, it's like, oh, we're gonna say, well, you gotta wait 5 minutes. And I was gonna, oh, well, fine, I'll come in again. I was like, you know what, fine, I'll sit out here. I'll just, you know, tilt my seat back a little bit, close my eyes, get a little power nap in before the Alaboom. Yeah, they run my stuff, which, you know, they should have. But I was just like, oh, just why is it, Barry? Why does this stupid country, and we have these stupid mentalities for all these stupid things that we do, where we just like have this, like, you know, we just, nobody can be just, if it's a mild inconvenience in your life, we just want to like dig our heels in and just say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to change my mind. You're not going to change my mind. You know, it's just like, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Just,
Because we're all just stupid chimps.
you think that's it? We're just chimps, stupid chimps?
We're just stupid chimps. We're habitual, emotional, and violent.
I got a big old box from Nord Games today. I think this is a couple things. This is weird. I've never done this before, like on the Boom. Or maybe I have opened up a box. No, I backed a couple of their Kickstarters for some cool RPG content. Nord Games are it's a couple guys that they're I strongly suggest, like, they have a lot of really good supplement stuff for 5th edition D&D, and because it has kind of an old school feel to it, but it's very well polished, and they do a very good job. I would give them a big thumbs up for anybody who wants to run stuff. But I think this is just a couple of books that I backed. All right, thank you for backing your Kickstarter product. Help create a new product for bringing joy. $10 store credit. Sweet. Expires December 31st. Awesome. Enhance my game. Anyway, let's see what I got. Oh, it is exactly the 2 books that I backed.
I had a grievance. I forgot.
Go for it. Well, and then I'll get prepared to, like, maybe show off these books here in a second.
Every other day, just about, a midget poltergeist goes through my kitchen and opens every lower cabinet door in the kitchen. All the island doors, everything.
Is it your
Now,
wife?
I can't get rid of this black hairy motherfucker because Jen will kill me. But it's Nudge, my cat. The same one that knocks the camera down all the time because he likes grabbing on the bar with his teeth or something. So I don't know what to do with this grievance. I put boxes and shit in there. He pushes them out of the way.
How does he open the cabinets?
He just sits there and he pulls at them until they come open.
But what? Is there like food in there that he wants? Or
I don't know what.
A...
He's just being a dickhead. He does this at times, you
know. Yeah, just get rid of the cat, I guess. But I'm guessing your wife wouldn't let you do that. So
Jen will kill me. She said in divorce, I get Beaker because Beaker doesn't like her as much.
Huh. Well,
But she's keeping Nudge.
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 Beaker is your cat, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Beaker's the other guy. The
My wiener dog is named Beaker. Hey, Richard.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Richard, I actually had a question for you. When you came back from Malta, you brought your chickens, right?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, how did that work?
Yeah, that I have no idea how that would work. I imagine there's an option, but they're pets, but we're not that attached to them. I've personally slaughtered enough of them that not to get too attached.
Yeah.
There was a fantastic Mystery Science Theater 3000 short, which was like it was called like Your Farm Today or something. I forget what it's called. It's like, and it was like one of those like it was presented as like a documentary, like classic 1950s black and white documentary about like the farm and stuff like that. But obviously it was kind of a paid advertising for whatever company it was. I forget what it was, but I remember one of the funny things was they were talking about like how you keep track of how many eggs each chicken lays, and they had like this space age thing where the eggs would come down and get allocated in certain spots, so you could see which chickens were your good egg layers and which weren't. And so like I remember the narrator said something like, it's like, after a week or so, you'll know which chickens are best for your egg laying and which are better for your dining room table or something like that. And you see this guy reaches in and he takes this chicken out of the cage, and Crow Robba goes, "I'll have an egg for you tomorrow, I swear." Big giant monster book of undead monsters from Nord Games, and like a big giant thing about creating D&D like villages and cities and stuff like that. I backed these a long time ago. They ran into some like shipping problems with because of COVID, and they couldn't get the stuff over. So they ended up having like three of their things all in one container being sent over. Anyway. Well, Richard's here. I might as well start with my real complaint about my real grievance. This is, and I apologize. This is probably fairly political and it digs in, but this isn't like.
Should I go get a political shirt?
No. Well, you can if you want. I don't care. But I mean, what game is that, by the way? What game are you flipping through?
I am putting it away.
Oh, what'd you think? I liked it.
I think it's got a lot of great stuff, but oh man, they just did the most basic lip service to two-player. Very disappointed. Really? Oh god, yeah. I mean, hey, in a 4-player game, great. Everybody draws 2 of these and picks one to have a secret goal, right? And there's you can come in first, second, or third place. 2-player game. Let's just throw a couple of them in randomly, and nobody knows what they are. So at the end of the game, hey, if maybe having most silver will get me 4 points and win the game. Or not, if the silver card is there or not. Who knows? Who cares? It's just, there's just like a dozen little dumb things that just show me they did not care about 2-player. Or that, or at least, I don't know, to my taste anyway, I should say. Maybe they gave it a lot of work, but. And
that's something where I remember I was sitting there, and I remember like we're getting ready to launch Arcana Rising here on August 4th. Arcana Rising coming. Go to greyfoxgames.com/Arcana Rising, or go to Kickstarter Arcana Rising. You can get a notify you to launch. Blah blah blah. First day backers get free sleeves for the entire game. Anyway. Anyway, like I said, do we have a solo game for this? And then they were like, no. And I was just like, make one. I was like,
that is the correct answer.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, even if it's just like we throw 2 cards in there that say, all right, these are the little puzzles that you have to figure out while you're doing your card drafting and create an engine that will produce this in 6 turns, then, because there is going to be a contingent of backers that are going to say, does this have a solo version? And if it, that is a hill that they will die on. They will play it. They'll have people over at their house. They'll have 3, 4, 5 people playing or whatever. But if you have a solo version, they will appreciate it. It's just, I don't know.
Would
And
you
that goes
say
to any Kickstarter
inclusion of a solo mode leads to better sales at this point?
Absolutely. Well, let it better sales
Yeah.
before, regardless. I mean, a lot of people I think will end up saying what you just said, paying lip service to a two-player game. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's lots of people that'll say, well, this is just paying lip service to a solo game. However, the whole thing is that the most, in my opinion, solo gamers know, unless the game is specifically being made to be played solo, say like go back in time to B-17 Flying Fortress, or lots of war games that are just meant to be played solo. It's just meant to be like a reenactment of some famous scenario. Or go to games like Unbroken, which are just a solo game. It was just created to be solo, and that's all it is. I mean, for the most part, those things are just that. I will say this, for the second time, I haven't had a chance to really dive into my grievance, but for the second time,
This time for sure.
no, for the second time, no, for the second time, and for the second time ever, I actually P500 something, and was willing to do the P500 instead of just waiting for retail, because I definitely, absolutely, positively want Dominant Species Aquatic.
Oh, sure. Gosh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's printing. And if you were a fan of Dominant Species, I've read the rules of Dominant Species Aquatic. It looks amazing. It looks perfect. And I mean, it was Chad Jensen's last design.
I was just going to ask. I mean, I assume, had he finished it before he passed on?
It was like I think they had to bring somebody in to smooth out some rough corners and stuff like that, if I remember, do a little bit of development work, but it was pretty much finished. It was ready to go. So
okay.
And and obviously, I mean, it was just like, from what I understand, I don't know for sure, but his partner Kai, she I mean, I think she still has medical bills and things like that, and so I mean, I do know that GMT is doing a solid, and it's the royalties and everything are going to her. So obviously,
okay.
Yeah, fantastic game. Well, Dominant Species is still one of my few true 10s.
Oh, sure. Not for me, but I totally see why it would be.
Well, because you can be so mean and evil to one another.
Yeah, but it's brilliant at it. It's
one of the best rule books for a heavy game. One of the best rule books. And that was something that Chad did very well. He wrote his own rule books, and he walked you. I mean, for a game that was super dense and heavy, it was just like, okay, let's play a turn. And it was almost like conversational in the way that it described how the turns went and stuff like that. So
that's excellent.
No. So anyway, my grievance that
you will get to it this time for sure.
Oh, this time I'm just gonna hammer on this, because back in March, it was March whatever. It was spring break, and thank you, Windows Defender, decided to alert me that I had no virus threats. Thank you. I guess that's anyway. No. We were on spring break, and COVID thing was just starting up. People were going, what's going on? This is kind of weird. I mean, think back to March when everybody was just kind of like, oh, sure. Is this going to be a big deal or not? And you were hearing the reports from China and what have you. And while we were on vacation, we got the emails basically saying, your kids aren't coming back to school for the next week until we figure out what's going on. And then that week turned into, your kids aren't coming back to school, period, at least until possibly end of April. And then that became, your kids aren't coming back to school. It was just so, and kids have been home basically since March. So the big question has been, how are we going to handle going back to school? I mean, it's something that in June everybody was saying, well, we'll have to see what happens. End of June, people are saying, kind of want to know what's going on. No, I was not on a beach with hundreds of people, though I was at a water park, which, looking back, was such a really poor choice. I mean, we were, I mean, it was definitely around a ton of people. I mean, thankfully, luckily it was Minnesota. And so it was thankfully it didn't have a lot of cases at that time. I mean, there's no way on earth I would go to those places now. But anyway, no, so it was our school district said, we will be sending out a questionnaire, because when they were going to send the kids home for distance learning, they called every parent and said, well, just do you have the technology able to do this? Do you have the technology? And luckily we do, right? And so I mean,
Sure.
and then so they said to us, oh, it's like we're going to be sending out a survey. We want parents to answer this, and so we can gauge.
This is now, or this was back in March?
No, this is now. We're going to send out a survey so we can gauge where people are at as far as their concerns, what they're comfortable with, whatever, so we can make informed decisions for the upcoming school year in the fall. Great, cool, awesome. So this, I mean, and then like my wife and I have talked about it. We're like, if we think that our children can be safe, we want them to go back to school. But if we aren't in a spot where we think our children can be safe, we're just not going to send them back. I mean, we don't want, them to get infected. We don't want them to infect us. We don't want them to infect their grandparents. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, we have means, so we have the capability of, we have computers, we have stuff, so we can do distance learning. And there's a whole bunch of arguments that I know people can have about, it's like how school is for a lot of parents, needed, and this, and
as a form of daycare, basically.
Yeah. And that Steve Shives actually, I think he launched it today or yesterday. He said, are we really arguing about whether or not it's okay to open schools during a pandemic? And he did a video. It's like about 26 minutes long. And I realize he's kind of a talking head and a little bit of a pundit. And I subscribe to his channel mostly for his Star Trek content but it is fantastic. And it is, and if you're like, I mean, it is one of those things where I would love for people that are like COVID isn't real kind of thing to watch that and like really do some sort of argument against it or whatever. I mean, I've already I blocked a whole bunch of new people today, just the people that are posting their standard. Like one of them posted, if you put any color in front of lives matter, you're a racist, and see you later. It was just like, nope, I'm not. Somebody
you're
posted,
a racist if you post that post.
yeah, just like somebody posted something where it's like, if we didn't get upset about the flu in 2018, why are we getting so upset about this? Just, you're an idiot. See you later. I actually did have a situation where somebody posted something that was like a blatant untruth about how masks don't help. And I said, if one person reads this, decides not to wear a mask, and like either get sick or and kill somebody, or they themselves get sick and die because they read this, how is that going to make you feel? And the person actually said, you're absolutely right, and deleted it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually a really, really, really smart interaction, because that's just what I said. How would you feel if this caused somebody to die because of it? And they actually said, you know what, for myself, they said, I will choose not to wear a mask, but I shouldn't say this. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I guess you can make up your mind yourself. But I mean, it's just kind of like, I was very impressed with that person. I actually sent them a personal message saying,
it's still a mixed message though, because, well, I don't want somebody else to inadvertently kill somebody by not wearing a mask, but I'll still happily kill somebody by not.
I'll still do something dumb, but we're getting there, right?
Yeah. Take what you can get. Definitely.
So I'm like, all right. I mean, I was like heavily nuanced situation. Like, I don't know what the right answer is to this question that we're having.
I don't from school.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, and it's just like, and this is before I actually listened, because he gives like the top 10 arguments people have for opening up schools and how he refutes each and every one. And it is fantasdon't mean,
who is he? The principal?
Steve Shives. No, Steve Shives.
Oh, Steve. Right. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if you don't subscribe to this channel, I would strongly suggest just going to check it out, and you can find and just look up Trek Actually. He has wonderful Star Trek content. He's a huge Trekkie. Anyway, so I was like, and then my wife said, I got the email. Do you have some time? Let's go through this today.
Okay.
And I was like, all right. I said, let's do this. She opens up the email. She said, first question is, do you plan on sending your kids back to school in the fall? She asked me, what do you think? And I was like, well, I mean, yes, as long as they're safe. Is that? And she's like, well, it's just yes or no. And I was like, all right, we'll say yes. And then the next question was, would you be willing, if need be, to be part of a carpool or busing situation to help kids get to school if it's not possible? And I said, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to have a bunch of people in my, and possibly who knows who they're going to. No, for her own safety, for our kids' safety, absolutely not. And I was like, what's the next question? She said, that's it. It's 2 questions. And I was like, two fucking questions. Like one of the most heavily nuanced, like, I don't know what the right thing to do in this situation. Do you have our options? Like, are we having distance learning? Are we doing anything? Really?
Let's get bogged down by the details.
Two fucking questions. 2 fucking questions about the, like whether do I send my kids into bacterial stew or not? I mean, I was just like, and I, at that point I said, I don't know. Can we re-enter? I was like, can I go back and say no? Because I don't know what the answer is. I just, it's just.
Wow.
Do you think
this is Minnesota? This is, I mean, we're like, we're heavy liberal. I mean, we don't vote red. It's in this state. And hey, Kevin.
Good evening.
It just, I was absolutely, and then I was just, I mean, I feel like I need to either send a tersely worded email and they're like, well, we're gonna wait until what the Minnesota governor says on the 27th of July to help us with our with the position and use their guidance as to how. And admittedly, they're saying things like, we're going to try to have, there's all these things they say they want to do. Like they want to have, like lower class numbers in the classes. And I'm like, well, how is that even possible? Because I've been in the school. They are crammed in like sardines. Of
course, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know how you're going to do that. I mean, and it's just like, we're going to make it so the buses are only half full. And I also, once again, I mean, I'm lucky that like I have the ability to drive my kids to school, but I'm also like the thing where it's like, I've seen those buses. I mean, they're bouncing off the walls and every seat is full. I mean, it's like, sure. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of, this is what we want to do, but I don't see how it's even going to be possible that people are going to be able to do it. I don't know. I realize I am angry man yelling at clouds right now because nobody knows what the right thing to do is, right? I mean, in a perfect world, we would just, be able to keep all like our kids at home and they could learn and everything like that. But there are situations where they can't. And this, once again, I mean, and this is where it's going to get fucking political for me, is that it's like, this is why are we still arguing about stimulus checks? Why is there not like a thing where it's just like, you're gonna have to stay home with your kids because it's past summer. Yeah, so we're going to just stop. We're going to stop people from having to pay their rent and their utilities, and then the government's just going to pay those utility companies and they're just going to pay your rent for you. Why aren't we realizing that it's just like, yes, this is a situation where it is as simple as just throwing fucking money at the problem. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's like most situations, it isn't that easy, right? It's like, oh no, this is a heavily nuanced thing where how do you do this? How do you do that? No, this one you just need to throw fucking money at it. And then like a year down the line or whatever it's going to be, figure out how you're going to deal with that debt and figure out how you're going to like make that right. I mean, but right now it's like you deal with the burning house right now, and then you figure out how you pay for the water later. Why is that so ridiculous? Why is that so stupid? And the thing about it too is that like you don't even really have to throw like the banks all have gajillions of dollars. No bank's gonna. I mean, admittedly, there's gonna be some. If you automatically like said nobody has to pay their home mortgages right now or whatever, it's like yes, I'm sure there would be some credit unions or financial institutions like that would feel the pinch, and it would be difficult for them. And I'm not saying that isn't a minor problem, but the thing is that why couldn't you just say, you know what, nobody has to pay their mortgage for 6 months, you know, and then you just add the 6 months to the end of somebody's mortgage, because the bank's still going to get the money. They're still going to get their shit, you know, at the end, right? So it's like they you know, I mean, admittedly, it's going to be different if you have like a 2-year lease someplace, and like you can't just add that to the end. But I mean, I don't know. I just, and I realize there's more to it than just that. I mean, as far as like, where does this money come from, and how do you just, you know, make it come off the money tree and all those other things. But, you know, that's why we have elected officials, and that's why we have people that are like they're the ones that have to, you know, nobody's telling us to like figure out the logistics of how, you know, we take care of our defense budget and things like that. I mean, that's just, I don't know. I just, that was
capitalism.
Hello,
Fucking
Chris.
capitalism.
Yep. Have you heard my thoughts?
What is the painting that's above your head anyway, Chris?
It is actually from Full Metal Alchemist. It is Ed and Elric sitting together.
Huh? Nerd.
Yep. Well, so when my wife and I, when we got our first house, she was like, you know, we need to have artwork in the house. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It's going to be anime artwork. She's like, all right, find something interesting. And so I found a couple like actually like really cool, interesting looking pieces, and she was cool with it. So yeah, that's one of them. Anyways, the reason why we can't get our shit together is
Fucking capitalism.
Yeah, because we want to sort of stick with this idea that like, oh no, if you give money to people, that's socialism. We can't do that. We're the United States, but it's the solution to the problem. People just need to not go out until we can tamp the virus down to manageable levels, which currently is clearly not at. I mean, every other country in the world, that's how they solved this. They gave people a crap ton of money to stay home and not do anything for 3 months, and then they made sure they had contact tracing programs in place. So once they start back up, if an outbreak happened, they could pin it down and keep it from spreading. We have not done that at all.
Bootstraps.
Yep.
Bootstraps.
How many people actually have bootstraps anywhere? That's what I want to know.
I mean, who doesn't start with a $2 million loan from their parents, right? Everyone has that.
Yeah, I missed out, I guess.
So Lance, what's super frustrating is the county I live in, Orange County, was the one that just had that meeting that went all throughout the internet, where our Board of Education voted to require schools to reopen with no protective equipment and no mandatory mask wearing. And thankfully, our governor, like 2 days later, said, nope, statewide mandate, you cannot do that. Because there are a bunch of really stupid people in this city and in this county who were absolutely going to do that. And it's like if you want a glimpse into the mouth of hell, like watch one of those school board meetings. It is terrible. Like, oh man, sorry. I have grievances.
I don't know.
How has it been for you with your kids, Lance? I don't think I've ever heard you talk about the homeschooling that you've gone through.
They're missing out on the social aspect of it, obviously. I mean, especially my son. I mean, my daughter, I mean, she has her like 3 or 4 people in her little running crew. Like I said, it's her birthday today, and I can hear her and her friend like talking in the background right now. But it's just like, you know, my son, he's got like he's 1 or 2 buddies, but I mean, like he's been able to like have Zoom meetings with them and just hang out and like play Minecraft with them and stuff like that. Yeah. But other than that, and I can totally tell like he's missing out on the social aspect as far as that goes. But I mean, it's like one of those things where, you know, I don't know. And here's the other thing that pisses me out. I'm starting to get back into this already, and I'm totally stealing this from Steve, and it's something that I actually had thought about myself totally, was that like these people, the whataboutisms, you know, like the well, what about this? What about this? You know, it's just like the whataboutisms of like, well, what about these kids that you know, are coming from like poor homes where, you know, the only way they can get a decent meal is by going to school, and what about this? And I'm like, and these are all
poverty.
these are all horrible things. But here's the deal: I want to have every single one of those people that is telling me these whataboutisms
after this whole pandemic's over, I want them still hammering away. Well, what about these kids that are so poor they can only get good meal to the school? It's just like that's your pinpoint now because it fits your fucking argument. But you're not where were you? They were still poor and needed food and assistance a year ago. You didn't give a shit about them then, but now because you want your fucking school to open, you don't think COVID's a break.
Yes. So I will tell you from watching these school board meeting, the main complaint of the parents who want schools to open is they do not want to be around their kids. They're like, open up the school so teachers can babysit my kids and I don't have to be around them. And it was so depressing to listen to. Like, it was just legit. Why do you have children? Like you clearly don't want to be around them, and 3 months has driven you crazy. It's kind of a lifetime commitment. Like,
my brother and I were talking about this with my niece. My niece is in it's basically like an Ivy League high school in Philly. You know, it's like gearing them up to go to Princeton or whatever. And he was like, I don't know what to do. They're talking about opening schools up in September in Philly. Like, I was like, if I could, I'd leave her at home with the internet, the learning. And he's like, yeah, but this is our senior year experience. I'm like, Rich, that is what it is. But 5 minutes later, he tells me he went down to Ocean City, fucking Maryland. And I'm like, what the fuck, Rich? You're worried about sending her to school, but you just went to a beach with 1,000 fucking people on it. It's like, what the fuck?
Hey, speaking of pandemic, did everybody see the announcement of season 0?
No, I did not.
Are you serious?
No, serious.
I don't understand why they call it pandemic.
Is Lance serious? He was unaware of it?
Well, last week, I was biting my tongue because a couple of people mentioning, they couldn't say such and such about whatever IP they were working on or whatever. The next day, they announced season 0. So when I played it 18 months ago, I play tested it. They were calling it season 3 at the time. So I'm glad they made it season 0. It makes more sense. And will be the best of the 3, I think.
I don't know. To me, this doesn't seem like a pandemic game. It seems like
it's really more of a spy novel.
Yeah, a spy novel with a pandemic mechanics. To me, it would make sense to say it's whatever they name it.
Boring spy
pandemic.
No, it's really well done. I was quite amazed with it, and I know there's some elements that are probably not in the final that were a little clunky. But all in all, the overall feel for it is really good.
Well, it's a running gag that I hate pandemic. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
So, but still, yes.
You just hate that you don't have a game like Pandemic in your catalog.
You still talking about it?
Yeah.
What's
your feelings, Richard?
Huh?
What's your feelings on it?
I don't want to know anything about it. If you want to keep talking about particulars, I will leave and come back in 15 minutes.
Oh no.
This is a game Pandemic 0. We don't talk about stuff.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying.
I am pissed off that my channel is not big enough to warrant getting an advance copy. Unlike Tom, unlike Shut Up and Sit Down, unlike Eric Martin, and who knows who else. And
who did you piss off?
Wrote to the contacts I had and said, "Yeah, sorry, they're all gone." To which my immediate response is, through gritted teeth, "Fuck you, you motherfuckers. Do you know who the fuck I am?" And of course, I don't type that, and I just bottle that down inside, and
just cram it down. Just cram it further down. So here's the deal on that. Eric got his most likely because it's just tied to Board Game Geek, and that's like huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tom is just the Dice Tower is like is just that's what it is, and Shut Up and Sit Down is like, and here's what the crazy thing is that if it was pre-press copies, they probably had 5, maybe 6 pre-press copies, depending upon the box. Depending on the box size, you get 1 box, which is your pre-press copies, which they probably got handed out. So depending, they're probably maybe even 4, but so one of them was probably kept in house just to check for whatever, and then the other 3 had to go to reviewers, and so that's why those people picked those 3. I mean, I'm not saying you did or did not deserve one. That's not what I'm saying by any means.
I'm
just
aware
saying-
it's the world's smallest violin playing special just for me,
I know,
but
mean,
still.
no, it sucks, dude.
Talking
I mean,
about
because and especially since and I'm not here to butter your buns, so don't take it like that. But I mean, especially since Pandemic was the game that got you into the hobby,
Yep.
and then which was basically the impetus of your entire channel. I mean, you can trace it all the way back to there. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, they best recognize, just like. Which stinks, and I'm sorry that happened. But you'll get it, man. They'll
Oh
send
yeah,
you
I'm
one.
sure I'll get it eventually at the same time everybody else does. I mean, yeah. I mean, that was definitely the case for Pandemic 2 and Pandemic 1. I basically got it at the same time it was available to public. And fuck all of you fuckers.
Well, that's probably not helping.
That's not fair, because
if they happen to tune in to
doing
this,
their best, and at the end of the day, yes, shut up and sit down. If they do a video, which they may or may not, they may very well not, would certainly get more hits than me. I would get pretty much the same hits as Tom, and I would get 3 times as many hits as Eric. Never mind the fact that if you give a legacy game to Eric, the first thing he'll do is open the box and spoil everything. Because that's kind of his, well, it doesn't really matter. It's just a game. I'm just here to talk about mechanisms. Spoilers don't matter. But yeah, it's just like, oh, fuck you. And yeah, I guess this is a grievance. I very rarely have one. And it's definitely a grievance of privilege because I get plenty of exclusives and early. Although still, yeah, just bitter pill to swallow.
What have you done for me lately, as they say?
Yeah, their response is, well, yeah, I'm sorry, all the copies are out, but we could get you an Infinity Gauntlet love letter.
Did you say yes, please?
I said, oh, the one you actually sent to Tom and everybody else 2 months ago? No, thanks. Because I looked it up, and yeah, everybody else has already covered it 2 months ago. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's weird. Back a million years ago at Gen Con, when you introduced me to, I don't remember her name, but she was like a very literally brawny lady, tall, blonde, big muscles.
Yeah. I know.
And you tried to big me up, and she clearly hated my guts and wanted nothing to do with me. And I kept trying to circle back around, and she just gave me the runaround and gave me well, we'll see. And I never heard back from her again.
Really?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
That's
she really, can't think of the proper term. Cockblock is not the right term, but yeah, I mean, she just shut me down completely. And it took years before I could get to somebody at Asmodee who would regularly even return my emails. And yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. And again, it's just a game and it doesn't really matter. And I'm nothing special.
Well, I'll say what it is. And I'm just going to say that this is, and I've kind of gotten over it just because I don't really do the video thing anymore. Every once in a while, I'll feel a twinge. I'll be like, I should just let it go, kind of thing. But what it is it isn't so much the game. It's just like it's somebody basically saying that the position that you've earned on the ladder isn't being recognized, which is like kind of like somebody spitting in your face.
Yeah, that is a much more reasonable way to put it. Because I obviously I can wait. I've got plenty of other games to play. It's not the end of the world. It is just more we don't really value the same way you value yourself or your channel.
Ouch.
Oh well. I mean, that's fine.
I would like to ask this question really quick for the fact that like PlayStation Network, which fuck PlayStation and they give me my fucking chicken. But anyway, PlayStation Network just announced their giant summer sale. I was wondering if anybody knew of any of they can post if anybody wants to say out loud and tell me what was like the cool stuff or not cool stuff. If there's anything on there, and I'll look at the comments like that. I just want to know if there's anything that's worth me spending some of my cash on or something like that, because I don't want to go in and drop like a bunch of cash on stuff that I'll never play. But I also like if there's something that like is a hidden gem
I noticed that like Death Stranding is like $20 now or something like that.
I don't know if it's on sale because it just came out, but I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima a lot, and it is really cool.
But every time they ever do any of these big giant sales with all of these things, right? The one thing that I realize after when I see this stuff is that once again, it's like just wait 6 months. Why spend? I mean, like I can't remember the last time I was like, I gotta spend $60 on this. I need it right now. I need it right now. I need it right now. You know, like and because they eventually just sell it to you for next to nothing,
Yeah.
or you know,
Yeah.
or yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I just can't get all jazzed up about it.
Well, I mean, I also kind of look at it as it's a way to support developers of a game that looks cool. Like I don't generally buy most games like right when they come out. But the problem is like if no one buys a game when it comes out, eventually everyone stops making games because it's not worth it to make them anymore. Like
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
So I'll give you a case in point. There's a reason why all the brick and mortar tabletop gaming stores are closing down. Because everyone says, why would I pay $45 to buy this in a store when I can pay $30 to buy it on Amazon? Like that's the exact same reasoning.
And more people are willing to buy things digitally now than ever before, and which is true. I mean, I there's no reason to buy a disc anymore. None whatsoever. Zero. I mean, unless you're getting like the special Wooby like thing where you get the Fallout 3 helmet or something with it. That's the only reason to go in and buy the disc, because it's so much better to download it, put it on your console, because then you don't have to keep that disc. You can delete it off of there, and you can always re-download it. You know, because it's attached to your user ID. There's no reason to buy a disc anymore.
I disagree because yeah, Sony and Microsoft like currently have like no plans of going out of business, right? Like it would be essentially if they go out of business, it's catastrophic. Like we've got bigger things to worry about. But if you don't own the physical media of a thing that you want to play, then at some point the company can just be like, well, we're not supporting it anymore. Too bad, you deleted it off your hard drive. We don't intend on making it available for downloads anymore. Like we've seen that with older games, specifically like online games, right? Where the company has been, up at the start, they're like, hey, yeah, you'll be able to play this game, you'll play with your friends. And then eventually they're like, well, we're shutting the servers down, can't play anymore. And like that's, I mean, I too prefer.
But that would happen regardless. I mean, it's just, like if it's an MMO or something like that, they shut down the servers, you're done anyway. I mean, whether or not you bought the disc or not, it isn't like with an MMO you can put the disc back in, and some of the servers are still back up.
Well, no, there's been other games where like a game that requires always on connectivity, right? Like something like that. If that company goes out, then can you play the game anymore?
Well, Chris, are you trying to tell me that if I buy it online, and as opposed to going to GameStop and buying it, that developer isn't getting any money?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that let's say hypothetically that Sony goes out of business. Okay,
so never, but yes.
Yeah,
fine.
So never, right, again, hypothetically. Okay, so you have your games that you bought were all digital versions, and for whatever reason, you bricked your hard drive, you deleted them to make room for some TV shows, whatever. Now you can't get them back because you don't have a physical copy of the game anymore. Like,
as you say, there's always new games coming out.
Yeah, well, so the thing is, though, is that there are a lot of people out there that they legit want to own what they buy. Like, and it's not a, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still own something when you order it digitally and you download it, but again, you don't physically own it. Like you can't put that in your PlayStation and play it, like, or you can't put it in a different PlayStation and play it if you lose internet connectivity, right? So say your PlayStation breaks and you have a backup PlayStation. If you have a disc, you can play your game on that. If it's downloaded, if you don't have an internet connection, you can't play your game anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, and what if the world comes to an end? I mean, you're talking about a real specific situation. I mean, admittedly, yes, it can happen, but I guess I'm not buying it.
Well, it's just to me the underlying fundamental question is, do you actually own what you buy? And I don't think when you digitally buy something, you actually own what you buy, because you do not have the physical copy of what you've bought.
You have the rights to it, but you don't necessarily have it.
Right. Exactly. Like it's not, you don't actually own it. So, but that's probably more of a metaphysical discussion than a than an actual board gaming discussion or video game discussion. But yeah, no, I mean, and again, don't get me wrong, I love being able to download stuff. Like, I hate having to go to game stores to buy things. Like, it is fantastic when I see something, I'm like, oh sweet, I can just download that, right to Steam or my PlayStation or whatever.
Kip Liggett just said, "I can't put music on my Zune anymore."
Exactly.
All I gotta say about that is like, I remember, I think it was on The Simpsons or something, and somebody said something like, it's like, "Oh, let me download that to my Zune." Said no one ever.
Right? There are literally dozens of us.
I kind of gave him Chris. Speaking of music, what Chris was saying, how many times have you bought music, a particular CD or album or whatever you want to call it, repeatedly because of technology going out? Like first it was the record, and then it went to tape, and then CD, and then you went to things like the Zoom and all that, which had their own stores, where say you bought it through their stores, and now you can't transfer it to like an iPad or something.
Yeah, no, that's a legit point. Like, I think music was kind of the canary in the coal mine with that, especially when Napster happened, right? Because then it was just like, oh, anyone can get music, and like there were good and bad things about Napster, and that if you're a musician, you freaking hate Napster because you're not getting paid for work. Like, that's awful. But if you're a fan of music, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I can explore like all these different songs that I probably wouldn't have shelled out, $16 for that CD. So, I mean, I think streaming is like kind of getting there, but there's still problems with that, and that musicians still aren't being paid what they should be paid, in terms of like how often their music is streamed. But I don't like it's tough because we are continuously moving into a more digital world, into a non-physical world. But like, how do you as a consumer protect your rights to actually like own the things that you buy? Because you're spending your money to acquire that product, and if it can be taken away from you, well then you didn't really buy it. Like, you don't really, or no, it's not you didn't really buy it, you don't really own it.
I'm trying to remember the name of the product. There was a device that you could plug into, I think it was your Atari 2600, but it might have been Nintendo. I can't remember where the timing was on that. You could download a game to test, and then you would be able to go out and buy it. So you got to test it, but you had to pay the service to do this.
Okay.
And as long as you didn't turn off that device, that game stayed there until you replaced it with a new one.
Right.
But that was,
I think that might
was
actually be
probably in the late 70s, early 80s.
Like, honestly, I'm somewhat confused why we haven't seen that as a business model, especially in terms of video games. Like, why not offer a 99-cent version of demo version of the game, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
4 hours of the game, because at that point
That's
you know if you're going to buy
shareware. That's been around forever.
Yeah, well, but it's so easy to do digitally, and no one's doing it.
They don't?
No, not for like big games, not for. I mean, you like
Really?
Yeah.
I guess the industry has changed. I mean, that was always a huge thing. We always had to work on our downloadable demos of games.
Yeah, no, they don't really do that anymore. Generally,
Really? Wow.
Generally it'll be a free demo like a couple months before the game comes out to try to build hype, but it's usually not like when the game's out. It's not like a try it before you buy it thing like that. Like,
wow.
I've never seen a game recently like that, and I remember back in like the 90s, like, yeah, for sure, like they would have
Apogee, Commander Keen, all
Right.
the rest of it.
Yeah,
like
I remember demo
buy the
disc.
whole version.
All the early Blizzard stuff.
Yeah. That's really surprising. I guess that just goes to show how far removed I am from my former life. I had no idea.
Hey, Richard, I saw your Tutankhamun video last night.
Oh, did you? Are you working on that?
Yeah. Actually, I'm working on the Kickstarter page right now.
Ah, excellent. Was it okay?
It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I loved this. Like, I was really happy with. I mean, I had nothing to do with the game design, but the stuff you said about my stuff was good, and I really liked the take you took on it. It was great.
What I'm most excited about is it strikes me after having done that video, there's a slim chance that Reiner Knizia knows my name now.
I'd say more than a slim chance.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like he's so far removed from the day-to-day of the actual industry that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. But now that I made my comment in the video and Chad wrote back saying, you're right, we really should do that.
I was just going to say, your
apparently
comments
they're
did not
testing it
fall
now.
on deaf ears.
And that meant Chad had to go and say, yeah, there's this guy, Richard Ham. I don't know what he's called, but he said we should try. Can we just give it a try? You know, it's probably nothing. That's how I imagine it happening.
Yeah.
As he is approached on the throne.
No, it was a good comment too. I bet you because it makes the underworld more used.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was genuinely shocked when he wrote back and said, well, that had not already been tried. I assume there just must be something I couldn't see. But no, that's great. I'm really happy. It was a neat little game. We really liked it. It's cool to see a 27-year-old game come back and get revamped for a new generation.
You should see the screen printing for the player markers.
Oh, really?
It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, wow. Well, just anytime a game actually brings the box and uses it in the game, that's always a big thumbs up.
That was the product of a late night chat Chad and I had.
Oh, really?
2 a.m. We're like, how can we do this? Yeah. I'm actually going to be doing a video on it, talking about how like it's last time I did it was on the Bosk trees and just like components that kind of posed a design issue for me, and hoping I can get it. Like, he's supposed to send me a box. It's actually on the way. And if I can get the video out during the Kickstarter, which launches next Tuesday, that'd be good.
Oh, maybe it's my copy because I just put it in the mail to someone.
No. I got an actual box made. Just the bottom
Okay.
Sent to me for like $100.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well.
So has anybody played any games? I'm just wondering. Does anybody besides Kevin wanting to brag and make Richard cry about his playtesting? Has anybody? I'll say,
that was 18 months ago. I played that.
So here, actually, I have a review. I played with my family. We played. I got the Scooby-Doo Escape from the Mystery Mansion game.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
And there's absolutely no way you can say anything about this game and really. I mean, how do I explain how this game works? Basically, nobody actually plays any specific member of Scooby-Doo. But each person there is a narrative book for each person. And each person has an ability. And this is just mechanism wise. So Shaggy's is eat. Like his ability is to eat things. Scooby's. Yeah, I know. I think what is it? Daphne's is use. Velma is research. Scooby is smell. And Fred is investigate. And so
wait, what was Daphne again?
Use the door or things like that. Yeah. So each person has a basically a paragraph book, and then depending upon the character, their paragraph book is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then so there will and then the story opens up, you read the opening thing, basically just like a Scooby-Doo episode. They're in the scary mansion and something happens. Not going to go into anything. There's like a hackneyed reason why they're there. But you start off, you have Velma, you're in a room, she's all by herself. And in the room, there's a tile you put down, and on the tile itself, there's little spots on there, and the door will have a 3-digit number on it. Some things will have a 2-digit number on it, meaning you can't use it until you get, because there has to be a 3-digit number on things. So if there's only a 2-digit number, you have to figure out a way to get a number added to it. Basically, you have to find a clue that'll add a number to that number. And then each character has a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think Velma is a 2, if I'm right. So if you want to use, like, if you want to have her investigate the closet, and the closet happens to be number 144, you put the 2 in front of the 144. It says read paragraph 2144. You open up Velma's paragraph book because all of her numbers start with 2, whereas like all of Fred's numbers start with 5 because his is a 5. And then you read 2144. Somebody reads that out loud, and then that may tell you there's a deck of cards that you put face down, but you can see the numbers on the cards. It said reveal card number 37 or whatever. And if you reveal card 37, that might be a key, and that key will have a number associated with it, and then you can then use it to add to, like, say, the door that's locked that you found that you can put together, and then you can put those things together. It was a little tough, like, at first to get into it. It wasn't. There is definitely clues. If you wanted to, if you got stuck somewhere and you like the little, like, to figure out how you got whatever to work. And like I said, once again, I don't want to give away anything as hard, but it is really clever how they present the clues in such a way as to how each person's, and everybody can do something. Each character can usually do something. And so there isn't ever a situation where you're like, oh, have Fred investigate it, and you turn, there's nothing to investigate. It'll just say something like, that doesn't look like there's anything interesting there. So, like, that's a dead end path. But the only thing I had a problem with after we had done it for a certain period of time is that eventually, like, you kind of lose the narrative of it a little bit. And basically, okay, there's like a globe or something. There isn't a globe. I'm just throwing that thing out. There's a globe and it's got a number on it. Okay, everybody just read the book. What does your book say for, 3 something, 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 and like, but it does have a cool thing where, like I said, you only start off with Velma, and then, like, you have to figure out, like, where the other people are, if they're locked up or if they're in another room, and you have to be able to get to that room, and then that unlocks that person and their special ability to do whatever. Plus, I really liked how the Scooby-Doo story is told just like a Scooby-Doo episode, where you're investigating the mystery. You come to a good idea of how the mystery, or who's behind everything, and then the story shifts into how are we going to trap the ghost, and how are we going to figure out who's behind this mystery.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So it does actually follow the Scooby-Doo narrative of the old school. There's no Scrappy-Doo. This is like the old school, like Scooby-Doo episodes, and it's we had a lot of fun. And we enjoyed it. You can play it basically to halfway, and that takes about an hour. And you can stop if, like, it's definitely my son was getting a little antsy, and so we're like, okay, let's just play. We'll finish up tomorrow. And so we played the first half on a Saturday, and then we played the second half on the Sunday afterwards, and it was good. It's a one-shot thing. Once you've done it, you've done it. But it definitely worth the time and the effort that you can put into it, and you definitely can. Because there are secret envelopes as well, or say, open up this envelope, and you open it up and there's something in it. But it is definitely, as long as you don't destroy anything. So you definitely can put everything back together in a package, and you could give it to somebody, and you could say, hey, here you go. You can play this game, have fun with it, and you can hand it off to somebody else after you're done, kind of thing.
How does that compare to exit games? Is it just based more for kids, or?
It definitely, it's like, I'll say this. A couple of the puzzles really had me at a couple points, because I was just like, good gravy, what are we supposed to do here? I was just like, I was trying to figure out, and once again, I don't want to give anything away. There was definitely a few things, and it was like one of those things where what was really nice was both of my kids were able to, like, basically say, well, what if we did this? And it was just basically a way that I would never have thought of. I don't know if that means anything or whatever, but they were just like, oh, just what if we did this? And it was like, and that, like, may not have an answer, but sometimes you don't get an answer with the clue you read, but it gives you a hint, like a really good hint, like Scooby smells something. And then, like, all of a sudden that would, like, set something off in my brain. I was like, oh, of course, what if we did this? And, like, go look at that. And then we could, you could jam things together. So, yeah, if you are a fan of the old school Scooby-Doo, which I've told the story before, I'll tell it again. If you ever if you ever you're younger, and you're
Man,
gonna have,
winner. It's
yeah, if
always
you're
old
young,
man winner.
if you're younger and you're gonna have kids, and like you're wondering about like the kind of content, because everybody says my kids will never watch TV. Yes, they will, and you will pray for that half hour of them, like watching the TV so you can like get something done, or just close your eyes and take a nap. Somebody told me, get them hooked on something that won't annoy the hell out of you if it's in the background. So no Barneys, no Caillou, but they said, and so I was like, and they said, grab Scooby-Doo, have them watch old school Scooby-Doo, watch like an hour of it with them, and then laugh at everything like it is the funniest thing you ever saw in your entire life. And they will think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen in their entire life, and they will continue to watch Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And like my daughter and I watched every Scooby-Doo thing ever. I mean, it was just like, and we watched it, and I mean, admittedly, it was funny. I found a lot of it. I still think Scooby-Doo's pretty funny. I think it's just kind of just absolutely, it's very lighthearted, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. But yeah, anyway, so I'm a big fan of Scooby-Doo. Always been a fan of Scooby-Doo. So yeah, it's a good game. It's very good, and I will happily get the next chapter of it. And it sucks because you can't really show anything. I mean, like from the very get-go, you're in spoiler territory. So I mean, there's no way. I don't know how. I mean, how you show it, other than just basically explaining how the mechanism, the very very basic mechanism works. Because ultimately, it's just an escape room. It is what it is. It's like, how do I get to the next thing? I have to figure out this puzzle, and it really, and it's all about everybody talking, and there's things you can hand back and forth for people to look at and try to determine. And I mean, there was a puzzle where I couldn't figure it out, and I was so proud of my son Caleb. He was just like, oh, wait a minute, and I don't want to tell you how. Basically, there's physical hands-on things you have to do, and he was able to just like, oh, here, that makes this number, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect, and I was just like, yeah, and it was like, because all of us were stumped and we couldn't figure out how to get this door open, and he just grabbed these pieces and he was like, what if we did this? Doesn't that kind of look like this? And we're like, okay, read 4932, and it was just like, you open the door, and we're like, ah, and he was really proud, and that was like a good moment. So I mean, it was good stuff.
Is that the one that Sen and Jay did?
Yeah, it was, and they did a fantastic job. I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been another escape room game, but I think the Scooby-Doo theme really enhanced it a lot for us, because like we're kind of a Scooby-Doo house.
He was over the moon. Sen was over the moon when he got the IP.
Yeah.
He's like, I got something I can't tell you about it, but I'm like, really loving it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah,
so there's my game. So like, yeah, if you're looking for a game where basically like your family of 4 or 5 or even 2 or 3, or you can even play it solo if you want to, but you want to sit down and have a blast. Yeah, Scooby-Doo Mystery Escape from the Mystery Mansion, I think it was what it's called, and I hope they make more, because this was extremely clever. It was fun because like you do run, like you'll turn a card over, like you go into a room and like, oh, you meet the butler or whatever, and so you turn the card over and then the people have like a number, and my son was like, I'm gonna have Shaggy eat him. It's just like, and I was like, whatever. And but instead of Shaggy eating him, like he goes up and says, Mike, do you have any food, man? I'm hungry. Just like, and it actually leads you to a clue. It actually is like, oh no, you have to talk to the chef about it. So when you do run into the chef, you do ask them about the food, and and then it kind of leads down a path. And of course you have to do the voices too. I don't know how you do Fred's voice. Come on, gang. Just got to be like, uptight, upright, and wholesome, I guess, or something. I don't know.
So I've never played an escape room board game. Is it just like, is it one and done? You pass it on.
This one is.
Else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all those one, like exits and things like that are all one and done type things. So yeah, there you go.
And unless you draw on something other than the card, you could repackage it and pass it on, but it's really difficult otherwise.
Anybody else play any board games lately? Kevin?
I played Tiny Towns online with the AEG folks today.
Oh yeah, Tiny Towns is a good game.
We
are they still
played
doing
this
the daily
variant.
thing at noon?
Yeah,
Oh my God, really?
What was it? Thing at noon? What?
I mean, it's every day at noon. The AEG upper management team have been doing live Facebook streams.
Today
of
was
Tiny
number
Towns.
today was number 75.
Jeez.
So we played a variant today for the Villagers expansion coming out. And if you've played Tiny Towns, basically what you do now is you add 3 meeples that will come with the Villagers expansion to your board anywhere you want. Whenever a resource is called, it's got to go where one of those meeples is. So you can't just put it anywhere. And then once you place it where that meeple is, you move that meeple somewhere else. So you've only got 3 spots that you can put your resources when they get called.
So have they just switched from, okay, we're just doing this for a little while until the whole situation is over, to, well, I guess we're stuck doing this. We might as well be play testing the next expansion.
Yeah, well, they're doing Monday to Thursday, they do Tiny Towns, and then Fridays, they do Space Base.
They what?
They do Space Base on Fridays.
Oh, Space Base.
I like Space Base.
Me too. At the AEG Design House, we played Space Base with, I think it was 10 people. And it was completely broken with one of the expansions. I think it was the Shy Pluto one. And it was just completely broken. It was so swingy, but it was hilarious. It was so fun.
So Space Base, and it's not a real direct connection. But the first time I played Space Base, I told everybody at the table, this reminds me of the old Parker Brothers game Bonkers, and nobody had any idea what I was talking about.
I don't know what that game is.
I know of the game, but I don't remember how it's played.
Bonkers was a game where you had these. So the game was all about scoring points, just like most games. But back then that wasn't how games were. I mean, like it was like you battleship, you killed everybody, whatever. But in Bonkers, the way you scored points, and you were racing, if I remember correctly, to get to a certain number of points. But the way Bonkers worked was you'd roll like 2 dice, and there were multiple spots on the board that if you landed on, you'd get a point. So but you had these. So every spot on the board of Bonkers had a spot to put one of these little tiny cards, and they looked like almost like price tags.
Like Tombstone.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, and so like when you landed on the spot, you'd place a thing on there that would say like move ahead 3 or move back 7 or go ahead 2, that kind of thing. And the thing was it would adjust where you'd move to, and hopefully like you could land on another thing that would score points. Well, the thing was, it was like, so somebody would be 3 spots away from a thing that scored points. You'd land on that spot, and then but then if you had another card, if you could get like 2 spaces away from that thing that would eventually get you to the scoring thing, then you'd play that thing to get like, oh, move ahead 2, and you hit that and bounce back. So the whole idea was that you'd hit these chains that would bounce you back, go ahead 7, back up 5, go ahead 3, go ahead 1, go ahead 8, you score. That was like, because it's driving you bonkers because you're bouncing around. And I just, and it's like the slimmest of tenebrous things, like basically because you're rolling dice and certain things are causing certain reactions to happen. Once again, nobody knew about the game Bonkers. It was like one of my favorite games when I was growing up.
1978.
What?
1978.
Yeah, well, somebody went and looked it up. But yeah, I think I have a copy of it still.
As old as I am.
All you young'uns.
Well, back in my day.
The board game we only had like a couple of board games growing up in the house, and the one that we played most was Payday.
I love Payday. That was a great, just taught you how to earn interest. I remember when I played Payday, and Payday lied to me to the point where I was like, oh, it's like, oh, if you put the money in the bank, you earn X amount of interest once you get to the end of the month or whatever. And like, I was like, holy cow, look, I'm getting all this extra money. And because like you just got that money paid out to you because you put it in the bank or whatever, and they had those pegs.
And so I had that bank account, and I always ask my mom, well, why am I not getting this money sent to me if I've got this money in the bank? They're like, they're like, no, they actually just put that in your bank account. I was like, well, I want the money. I'm supposed to get like there's according to payday, if I have $500 in the bank, I should be getting $50. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
I think the new payday comes with like little calculators and stuff.
Oh, really?
Lord.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. When I was working at a money museum, I did a couple of financial literacy games. And one of them was kind of a neat game. It was all based on the blockchain for like Bitcoin.
Okay.
Kind of abstractly technical. I mean, really, it could have been any. It was more like a trivia game because you had to like answer something and then put. And it was like a team. It was like a group game for like 25 people, and
Lord.
yeah, it was interesting. And then the actual blockchain part of it was building the blockchain as a group because it's like a unique number. It's kind of neat.
Sweet.
The money museum. What is that? You worked at a money museum? Like
I
this
worked
is
at the
money?
bank. I worked at the Bank of Canada Museum.
Oh, so it wasn't real money then.
Oh,
Oh, ouch.
I'll be here all week, folks. The 8 o'clock show is nothing like the 6 o'clock show.
Yeah.
I remember going to the U.S. Mint in DC, and I remember seeing the $100,000 bill, which they never. I think it was Grover Cleveland was on it. But it was just they had like
No, he's on the 10,000.
he's in the 10. I forget who it is.
I think he's on the 10,000, isn't he?
Let me check.
Well, somebody's really good Google things.
mhm.
Let me just pull mine out right now. Oh yeah, look.
Device that would allow us to learn this information.
The 10,000 was the largest bill that was in circulation. Then there was a 50,000 and 100,000 after that, I think. And those were only between banks.
And you hear stories of the super inflationary periods for some countries that cost like 4 million whatevers to get on the bus.
Yeah.
All right, who's looking it up, or do I have to?
I went to the Philly man on a field trip when I was in grade school, and they were actually making coins that day. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if they let you in now. This was before 9/11, but they actually let us in. There were guided with guards and shit, but it was pretty cool.
My mom worked at the Mint here in Ottawa for years and years in the legal department, and we did an exhibition at the museum when I was there because we got rid of our penny back in 2012, and we did one called Sentimental Journey with a CENT, and we did a little grade 6 competition to write an essay about how they would use all the copper saved and all that stuff, and the person got to put. So I made this 7 foot by 7 foot mural of the last penny out of pennies. It was like 18,000 pennies I made in this thing. And they got to put the last penny into the mural.
All right, are you ready?
Do this.
Oh, Marshall is on the $500 bill. John Marshall. McKinley's on the also on the 500, different version. $1,000 is Hamilton. And another one has Grover Cleveland on the 1,000. 5,000 is James Madison. 100,000 is actually Chase. Salmon B. Chase, who was Lincoln's Secretary of Treasury. And 100,000 is Woodrow Wilson. How about them apples?
How about them apples? They taste mighty fine.
Or how about those greenbacks, I guess I should really say.
Ha.
Weird. Very weird.
When do we move beyond? When do we move beyond the use of like cash?
Good question.
And hack electronic systems.
I don't think we ever will. Because of other countries, basically.
So again, this gets back to the idea of actually owning something, right?
Yeah.
Very well said.
I mean, people used to have gold and cash at one point. You know,
I remember my grandfather still had those gold and silver certificates like back in the day where you were supposed to be able to go into a bank and say, here, I want gold. I want $10 for the gold.
Yeah.
I remember when the Federal Reserve moved off of the silver certificates because I was a paper boy at the time, and all of a sudden these new bills, Federal Reserve bills, came out instead of the silver certificates.
When was that? 70s?
Oh God, no! I was a paper boy in the
aught six.
early
early 60s.
Yeah, like 63, 64 time frame.
I thought it was later for some reason.
I had a paper route too, way back in the day. Like I would do it every day after school. I always remember, this is the thing that always.
I had an afternoon route as well.
So this is the thing that always made me think. This is how amazingly trusting we are, right? So my parents had a house that was close to a golf course, and so the golf course basically had houses all the way around it, and great stories growing up there because there were so many vacant lots, but just all kinds of crazy stuff. Like we'd go swimming in the water hazards and stuff late at night, get chased off by people and stuff like that. But anyway, so some of the dirtiest, muckiest water of all time. Yet we were always in there. But anyway, so I remember we would deliver these things. You walk all the way around and do one side of the road, and then you walk all the way around to the other side of the road. Just basically because crossing the street over and over again, it was just, for whatever reason, I didn't like doing that. And but they would drop the all of the papers off on a corner next to the golf clubhouse, basically like in the yard of the clubhouse for the golf course. And just like, this is back, I mean, now like the Fargo Forum is still a thing, but like they've gone down to like only delivering, they have basically like 2 papers a week now instead of daily papers. They only have 2 papers a week because newspapers, they're dying. I mean, they're just nobody gets a newspaper anymore. And like, I mean, the newspaper used to be thick, and now it's like basically like 16 pages. It's like there's nothing
Saturday
to it.
paper with the inserts.
Well,
I mean,
it also doesn't help
backbreaker.
I mean, I remember it was
hedge funds.
Everybody would get the Sunday paper. Like there were people like that basically wouldn't get the paper, but they'd get the Sunday paper because the Sunday paper had all the coupons and the ads, and those MFers were like this thick, and they were just so freaking heavy you couldn't carry many in your bag. But anyway, regardless to where I'm going with this is that I used to deliver this, but I always, and like I could get all the way around the golf course in one bag, like, and it'd be super heavy at first, but as you're putting the things away, it got lighter and lighter and lighter, and I get all the way around to the back, and I could put them all in a bag again, and I could do it again. But here's the deal: nobody ever stole those newspapers. They were just laying there. And they got dropped off at like 2:30. I didn't get done with school until 3:30. So these newspapers are just laying there, like basically in these bundles that they had tied up. Nobody ever once walked by, just, I'm gonna get a free newspaper. It never happened. It was just like I just was always stunned. Nobody took the newspaper. I was just like,
yeah.
Nobody ever took it. I remember, like, I still to this day remember, like, the day that the Iranian hostages were freed, and it was the biggest headline I'd ever seen. I mean, it was just like giant, like hostages freed, like all the way across. I mean, but yeah, that's like 1,000 years ago now.
Well, the biggest headline was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the biggest headline I got to deliver was in November of '63.
Oh, I suppose.
Really?
Yeah.
One of my, have you ever, I mean, remember when the Onion like actually delivered like physical newspapers to people? Like, and then the Onion did a retrospective to great moments of history kind of thing. One of my favorites was for the moon landing. Was said, "Man walks on fucking moon." It's like, that was the headline. It was like first words I'm going to, holy shit, Houston, I'm on the fucking moon. You read me? Yes, on the fucking moon. We read you. Over.
So Kevin, you grew up in the '60s. Other than the pandemic, now were times as turbulent then as they are now in the country?
No, this is the worst I've ever seen.
Really?
I mean, Vietnam War protesting and Kent State are looming large in my head right now. And I served in the Navy during that time period, but thankfully I was always in the East or in the Med or something like that. I didn't go to the Far East. But it kind of bothered me, the Kent State stuff. That was just appalling. And now I see the same sort of stuff happening. And quite frankly, I think worse, because that was just, it was a semi-accident, but what they're doing now is purposeful. And I think something's really wrong there. That bothers me way more than anything I've seen.
I was talking to one of my great uncles who fought in Vietnam. He was a Marine over there. They tortured him in permanent body bag. They thought he was dead. He moved his thumb. That's the only reason they got him out of the body bag. But I was asking him, and he said, "Nah, this is worse too." He said it's more anger now and more violent now.
Yeah.
And then, the political parties being split and all that. They're more split now than they were ever back then. Yeah.
It's been moving that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, let's say something happy for a while, since we're all dooming and glooming here.
I didn't do this last time I was on, but what triggered me was the previous one where somebody, I can't remember who it was now, was talking about that they had like the first copy of Crude, the prototype or something.
Go on. I don't know where you're going with this, but
well, as it happens, about 5 years ago, I went to a estate sale, and I found a copy of Crude.
Oh, such an old school game.
But what's really interesting, now I have to find it. Where is it? Here it is.
You once owned it. No, sorry.
It is signed and dated by the designer, and it says first production copy at last.
75.
That's probably, if you can find somebody, that's probably worth a little cash.
Yeah.
Didn't
Who was it that you had on that was talking about how he had?
That was Stephen Bonacore,
but he had the prototype, so that he even predates this one.
Yes,
his copy predates this one. But I find that fascinating, and it is. I mean, I learned McMulty before I knew there was a Crude. So I've always enjoyed the game, and so when I saw it, it was like, oh man, this is outrageous. I didn't see the inscription.
Stronghold, because Stronghold did the reprint of that, right?
I think they did.
Yeah, they did.
Of Crude or McMulty? Did they title it which, I guess is the question.
I think they called it, they called it Crude, the oil
they
game.
went back to the original name. Good for them.
I had a copy of McMulti many years ago.
I think it was Hex Games. That ring a bell?
God, now I gotta find it.
Now
So
I gotta
here's
go look at
McMulti. Yeah, and there was just like it was like one of those things where somebody print. Yeah, here, front box of Hexa Games, McMulti.
Yep, there we go. Thank you.
And it was like yeah, somebody basically did that, and then they did that without any, like, they didn't get the rights to it or anything. They just made it. Didn't care.
Yeah, that was the story that he was telling, and I kind of knew part of that, but that was a little more than I knew about at the time. I do like the parts in McMulti, the plastic pumps and refineries and all that. Those are kind of fun.
All right, so I don't know. Say something. Besides that, does anybody else have like what's your is anybody still looking for a Grail game? I'd love to hear about, like, did anybody track down a Grail game lately? I mean, obviously you just found Crude. I was like my Grail games are so, like, a lot of them are more role-playing game content, like stuff where it's like, you just give up because you're never going to find it, because it's just like the 17 copies of an existence are all been secluded away by by the people that own them, and they never ever show up. And what's really weird now is that books, like for RPG stuff, Drive-Thru RPG is like more and more you can get the PDFs of stuff, but they're also doing print on demand. So like, oh, I didn't get that old D&D adventure, or I had it when I was a kid and who knows what happened to it, kind of thing. Oh, well, you can just pay $9 and Drive-Thru RPG will just print it off for you and send it to you, because it's like 32 pages long, and you can just get it easily that way. It isn't the original, but it's probably in better shape than anything you can find anyway.
My Grail game is the Acquire world map.
The Acquire what?
World map.
There's a world map for Acquire?
Yeah, it was one of the first editions, and they come up very rarely, and when they do, they get rather pricey.
I've never even heard that there was like all I know is that it's, Acquire is Acquire.
Yeah. It's a very rare edition. And so it is my Grail, because I've got one of just about everything else. I've got a couple of copies of the wood ones and the later ones.
I can't remember the last time I played Acquire.
I play it at least once a year.
Does anybody else have a game they play once a year? Matt, do you have a game you play? Make sure you play once a year.
I'm lucky if I play 12 games a year.
Yeah.
You
work in the board game industry, Matt. You must play games all the time. Don't you know that?
I'm lucky if I get out once a month. A game that I like to play as often as I can is Orleans.
It's a good game.
I got some expansions for it. I'm slowly making my way through doing them, but just the base game is literally like my happy spot. Lords of Waterdeep, I try and get in once a year too. Worker placement, big deal. I like it.
Big deal. What was the? I'm trying to remember. I try to make sure I play Battlestar Galactica at least once a year, but I try to get that game in fairly regularly. Hey, has anybody here played Fort? I just want to know if anybody's played Fort, and I want to know if the comparisons to Glory to Rome are valid. Nobody.
Don't ring a bell.
There's like 7,000 videos for it, because they must have sent out like 2 boxes to and everybody raced to make sure they got their video out first. But unless it's like a Richard video, I tend not to watch that stuff. So.
Oh, thanks, Jump.
Brown noser.
I'd rather I'd rather watch you at 2 times and I mean there's other people putting out good content. It's just stuff.
I couldn't imagine watching Richard at 2 times the speed.
Oh, I watch myself at 3x.
You watch yourself. How full of yourself are you? Just sat down and watched myself again. Doop-a-doo.
I think all my Grail games have been reprinted.
What?
I think all my Grail games have been reprinted. So,
Well, lucky you.
I don't need really specific editions. I got into board games late. I didn't really play like Javelin Hill stuff.
Actually, my Grail game is Coliseum.
Like,
But it got
Really?
reprinted.
yeah, it got reprinted
Yeah.
though.
Not the reprint. The reprint sucks.
Oh my.
The reprint's just like it's not very pretty. I like
Oh,
it
it's the artwork. Dude.
much better.
So like what? The game doesn't plays differently because of the art?
I don't know, it plays the same, but it's not the point. I mean, I've only played Coliseum literally like I wouldn't call it a Grail game, but a game I'd love to have in my collection.
Coliseum, not to interrupt you, Coliseum got ruined for me.
Why is that?
Because I played it once with like 2 people that like basically it was like the game they played all the time. So they had like 30 plays, and I had like 4 plays into it. And like it was like basically these 2 friends that were like I was at MeepleCon, and they were like, oh, let's play Coliseum, and I was like, and I was still working for TMG at the time, and I had the new version, like, oh, we'd love to see it, let's play it. And I was like, okay, cool. And I started playing it, and then we got another person. I think it was, I don't know if it was 5 players or 4 players, but I mean basically it was like these 2 guys, and these 2 guys like they played the game. It was like the game they always played. So it was just like it was them racing to a gajillion points, and the rest of us were like they tripled our scores combined. Everybody else played, and it was just kind of like, yeah, this isn't really even fun. It's just like, oh, why would you bid on that? That's stupid. You screwed that up. You're just like,
Yeah.
I don't know why people get off on like that. Like, even when I was showing people games for the first time, I felt bad when I destroyed them. Like, not even intentional. Like I don't get what people get on that. What do people get off of that, Lance? You're one of them.
What am I? What? What am I one of? What? I don't know what you're talking about. What am I one of?
You're one of them.
You got to destroy people.
Well, no, it isn't about destroying people. I mean, like if it's something where like I get points for destroying you, you better believe I'm gonna try to destroy you because I'm getting points by doing it.
Did you work on the reprint, Lance?
No, that was like right before I got hired.
Okay.
It was like one of those things where it's like he sent me their like 1 copy of the old version that I did a video on, like, so there's a video from like a very young version, but I was not hired at that point. I was hired about like 5 months later.
Yeah, because I'd feel really bad if you did.
Oh, you're fine. I mean, but I dealt with a lot of people, and everybody was just like, everybody loved to just tell me, oh, this artwork just sucks. It's horrible. It's ugly. And I was just kind of like,
I don't know. I mean, now
oh, no, don't backtrack. Don't backtrack.
No,
you don't have to backtrack.
Funny, like, I didn't even realize, but Jackie Davis did the art for it. And I love her work.
Oh, perhaps you need to reevaluate your view of it then.
Apparently I do.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
like Coliseum, I'm just looking at it right now. I mean, like, okay, so the artwork.
Is it drastically different? I see.
Well, no, it was just, it was the artwork was, it was very cartoony, right? It was just kind of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first version was. Yeah.
It was such a juxtaposition of what. It's funny because Jackie just did the art for Tut. That's why. It's like,
and I think it was Daniel Solis that did the art for that, if I remember.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. And so like, and like that's the whole thing was it played exactly the same. Now, I mean, and hindsight is always 2020,
Sure.
Looking back at things and saying, oh, I think it should have been this, or I think it should have been that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I mean, I guess in my opinion, if I had been involved at all in the discussion with that, I probably would have pushed people towards a mentality of like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't like have it look like this. I mean, and that's not like And I remember, and one of the things is too is that like when like because I remember Sam Healy was a huge fan of the Sam Healy was a huge fan of the original game, and so
Yeah.
he wanted a copy of the new one big time.
Yeah.
And then so they so I gave him one right away, and then he kind of buried it. I was kind of annoyed. Yeah, he did a video that basically compared the old ones versus the new ones.
It's
I mean,
so
and he was honest, but I mean, he did bury it pretty well. I mean, he was,
yeah.
yeah. So it was just kind of like,
You're really walking a tightrope when you
well, and here's the deal. So it was one of those things where it was like, it was one of those things where, like, how do I put this? There were times when there were people that I worked with at TMG who would step in and post comments and things like that, who did not have the care and the timing to not say things in such a way that like seemed either A, argumentative, or B, like, well, like when you put on airs and you're like, well, obviously you didn't get what we're going for because it's just above you, and I was just kind of like, and you're just kind of like, just because you're using $11 words in your explanation doesn't mean you're smart. And most people who read this are going to be saying, well, you're a dick, and that's and so I was just always like, how will we not respond to these questions? And like, because that was like one of the reasons they hired me, was like I was be the person that would like, be like, oh hey, let me talk to you, and let me like, and it was just kind of like, hey, somebody's like, I don't really like the art. Oh, that's too bad. I mean, it's fortunate though. Now you can get a copy of a game that's been out of print for a long time, and I get it. You don't like the art, but the game plays exactly the same, and and we'll definitely like, listen to what you have to say, and and we'll apply that to things in the future, kind of thing. Like, and I go, but instead of like, well, there's a yeah, I guess I won't get into it. I mean, it was one of those things where I was just kind of like, that was tough. That was one of the very first things that I had to mitigate when I came on, was the impression people had of Coliseum and why it wasn't just exactly like they had done before. And here's the weird thing is, for Coliseum, if they had kind of just redid the Days of Wonder thing, then I think it would have been one of those things where like it would have gone over better, like just, hey, basically here, let's just slap a let's just slap a thing on here, and we'll go from there, kind of thing. And it was just kind of like, and if they had done that, I think it probably would have gone over better. But for me, hindsight 2020, blah blah blah.
Was there any regret amongst TMG?
Oh, I mean,
no, they were still pretty happy with it.
No, I mean, it was like one of those things where it's like, the conversations I had were like, we really liked the artwork that we went with, and we really think it was like, we wanted to make our version stand out from the previous version, and so they were very pleased with it. And I remember correctly, the Kickstarter did fairly well. I mean, that was like, I think that was the last Kickstarter they ran that I didn't run. Which is neither here nor there, but they got 2,100 backers, 142 grand. I mean, it wasn't like they did poorly, I think one of
the things that surprised me was the change in tone from what it was.
The other one was very just like, ooh, we're just going to do this kind of straightforward thing, and it was just, and that was what it was. Mm-hmm. And this one,
playful about the original.
No, it was like, this is going to be a dry Euro about, and that's just the thing too. I remember like when I would see the things where it was like, this is Coliseum, and I was just kind of like, cool, it's about gladiators, and it's like, nope, not really. It's
about filling menus.
Yeah, it's about it's got a little bit of area control. It's got a little bit of like, just, doing these like certain things, and it has a lot of things going on that are a lot of fun. But yeah, they definitely, it was very different than how it was, I guess, is the best.
Are there any other reprints that have been done that you guys are like surprised they made that choice with, or
Like with TMG, like reprints? That,
anybody?
oh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, there's definitely like, there's so many games out there that you think would be like, people are always like, why hasn't this been reprinted? And it's just like, usually in a lot of cases, those games, it's really tough to determine who owns the rights to them, or like who, like, who do you talk to like see if you can get a hold of that game, and then there's other games that just like, like Glory to Rome, which will never get reprinted just because of the people that are behind it in the first place. I mean, like, everybody's got that game that they say, oh, I wish this could get reprinted. So here actually, good point. This is actually something that made me think of something. So Macau is one of my absolute favorite Euros. It is extremely well
I
done.
believe you mean Hamburg.
Well, thank you for stepping on my touchdown.
Damn, sorry.
No.
You were talking about Feld. I suddenly woke up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. So I'm a huge fan of Macau. It was, it was like, I remember I played it and I was just like, this was exactly what I wanted from a game that was dice and was Euro. I mean, it was just, it hit like boom, 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 hit all the buttons for me just perfectly. And I remember I and then like I was like, and I've actually mentioned this a few times. I was actually talking to Stefan Feld, who once again is like 8 feet tall, and I'm pretty sure is a Bigfoot. Bigfoot's real. So he's got Bigfoot in his lineage, I guess. Which proud Bigfoot lineage. But anyway, he mentioned he didn't like porcupines because they eat the bones. So, but anyway, no. So I was sitting there and I was talking to him, and and there was 2 other people from Queen, and we were at, I think it was Essen. Yeah, it was at Essen. And no, it was at Gen Con. It was at Gen Con. And I was just sitting there and we were just kind of shooting the bull. And Queen was kind enough to hand me a copy of Merlin. And I was like, oh, I don't even have a game from the sign. And they said, hey, here, you have a copy of Merlin. I was like, sweet. And so he signed Merlin for me. And I was like, I wish I had my copy of Macau here, or Macau, or whatever, because I'd have you sign that, because that's my favorite game. Well, actually, In the Year of the Dragon is my favorite game. But Macau is like right up there, very close.
Good choices, both.
Yes, and so and then he was like, and I was like, why haven't you ever done a reprint of Macau? And actually the Queen people at that moment said, yeah, why haven't you done a reprint of Macau? And he's like, I don't know, I think I have the rights again. And then they were like, maybe that's something we should talk about. He's like, yeah, I'd really like to reprint that game. And I was like, yes, I started
wait a
that.
minute, you were at TMG at the time. You should have said, wait,
No,
Mr. Feld, please
gotten,
come this way with me.
I had gotten fired from TMG 2 weeks.
Oh, too late. Oh.
So like, but
and Gray Fox isn't going to jump in on Feld.
I kicked that stone. I started kicking that stone down the hill. I think so. But I'm a little annoyed. I'm a little annoyed that it isn't Macau and it's Hamburg. I mean, I'm just kind of like, why do we have to? I mean, I realize they're going with a marketing thing and having like the cities.
Well, apparently they are changing. It's not the exact same game. He is.
Yeah, it's like
the rules
inspired by. Or something.
Yeah.
Which I'm not excited. I don't know. I'd have to play it. I mean, I'll probably buy it.
Lance, I'd be with you. I'd like a copy of Macau as well. I missed out on that for some reason.
Well, no, and the thing is that somebody offered me like a bag of magic beans for it, and I of course traded it away or something, and I have no idea. Oh yeah, it was years ago, and I was just like, I mean, you can buy a copy for $100, and I've thought about it a few times, but I'm just kind of like, how often would I play it? I mean, even though I really, really, really like it. I like Bora Bora.
Richard, just rub it in.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, this got beat to shit on the move back to America. You can see it's gotten some of the
and it isn't Hamburg. It's the other one. Hamburg is the Bruges.
Oh, is Hamburg, Bruges, and Amsterdam is Macau.
Amsterdam is the new
one.
Which is also a good game. Bruges is a very good game, and I might actually end up picking up both of them.
because
Well, I assume, yeah, it's a 2-for-1, isn't it? And as I understand it, the Bruges will include the impossible to get expansions.
truly impossible to get expansion. The city on the twin or
Svin,
whatever,
yeah.
Svin or whatever. But that's the weird thing is like I prefer Spikerstadt over the Viking themed one. I actually like Spikerstadt more.
What?
Yeah, I know. I just like
Were
that
you not aware of your name?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Why would you say that?
I don't know. I just kind of like the idea of like just the weird theme of like we're all in charge of weird firehouses. It's like I mean, it was just because it's a wackadoo theme, right? I mean, it's just kind of like yeah, it's easy to make the Viking theme and make it make sense, right? But I mean, I was just kind of like I don't know. And then plus, I actually did manage to track down I bought the expansion for Spikerstadt through Amazon.d or day or whatever back when you
Kai
still
Spiker.
Kai Spiker, yeah, Kai Spiker. I was actually able to get those, and I was kind of actually happy that I had those. Yeah, Stefan felt like Bora Bora though. I mean, that was another one by him that I liked.
It's excellent, yeah.
That never got a fair swing in my opinion.
I didn't think I ever got a chance to play, so I don't know.
I wonder if it's coming. If it'll be one of the cities as well.
I think it was the timing of Bora Bora. It was like right before the industry started to really pick up.
Yep.
It was like gradually getting there, but this was like right before that big jump.
I mean, Bora Bora was yet another one of those like the theme was pasted on, and it was just a lot of point salad going on, but still fun. The stuff linked together really well. Highly enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a bit too cruel for me, unfortunately.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, a reprint I didn't like was Arkham Horror, a recent one.
Oh yeah, third edition was a pile of garbage.
Yeah, and like the second edition needed help, especially at their other expansions. It just need to be streamlined. But it's like they just want to make this whole Arkham thing into one game. You know, the Arkham Horror card game. You know, they just want it all one system.
I was thinking in some of my favorite games that probably could use a reprint because they although they're still out there. El Grande is probably among my favorites, and that could use a reprint. I think. I don't think there's enough copies out there.
Well, aren't there like a billion El Grande decennial or decennial editions though? I mean, probably not anymore, but I think like they were fairly easy.
That's true. They did make that. I know I didn't pick it up, so.
Yeah, so like the El Grande, no, it looks like people want a cool $100 for El Grande, you know, which might be worth it still. But
do you think there's a market for El Grande now, being other games did what they did? Maybe not better, but differently, more streamlined.
I don't know that a game has as many ways for you to play as El Grande does, because every turn you've got to weigh how many you want to move in, what the options are available, what your turn order is. I mean, everything. Every turn you have to think ahead of what everybody else might do. And then where you are on the board on top of that.
What was I gonna say? This is one of this is a game. This is one that I'll never. Well, look at this. There's one for $100, but I've never spent $100 on this. Kai-Vai is, if you've ever played, Kai-Vai is a old game. It was, I think, printed. It was a long time ago. It was.
Hello.
But,
sorry, I'm back. I just lost my internet, and Jen just came in and said, "Okay, I'm done." So, are you done? And I say, "Yeah, I'm done." So,
what was she doing?
She was. Etsy has now allowed creators to put videos of their pieces on the site. So she was sitting down to make short little 30-second videos of 500 different art pieces she's got.
Out of curiosity,
Oh, fun.
if I wanted to pick up pieces of Jen's marvelous glass
Yeah.
art, where would I go, Richard Ham?
You would go to etsy.com/JenniferHamGlass, I believe. That's good.
You're using Screencast-O-Matic?
etsy.com/JenniferHamGlass. Does that work? It surely doesn't. Oh, you have to do etsy.com/shop/JenniferHamGlass. Or just go to jennifer.net, JENEFER.net. She couldn't get the com. Don't go to jennifer.com. Last time we looked, it was not savory. But
well, tell you about that. Okay, hold on.
Extra savory.
So jenniferglass.com is
no, just
bad?
jennifer.net or no. Actually, that's hard because her name is weirdly spelled. Was it? I think she has several different URLs. What's the easiest one? Does that one work? She has so many of them. Yeah, you can do gamerglass.art. Gamerglass.art will get you.
So gamerglass was not safe for work, is what should I say?
Jennifer.com. I'm going to look at it right now. See what happens. Jennifer.
Oh, are you?
Let's see if it's still saucy. It is. Oh dear. What the? Oh my. Wow. Boy, I feel like coming on this is probably giving me all kinds of viruses. Do not do that.
Well, that's why you open it in an incognito tab or whatever.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it looks like it's a page that is designed to literally, if it serves no purpose other than to get me to click on things so that bad stuff happens to my computer. So yeah, I could say jennifer.net, but gamerglass.art will work. In fact, wait a minute. Look at this right behind me at all times. Everything I do sponsored by gamerglass.art.
There it is.
Yep.
Man, her PR guy sucks.
Yep. That might be a little, maybe it's too subtle. I don't know, but it's there all the time. Gamerglass.art. Thanks for asking, Lance.
Well, hey, and not to dive too, but yeah, Jen's doing okay.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's
all right.
Been rocky, but it's going as well as could be expected.
Well,
so Richard, is it easier for Jen to do this in the States than it was in Malta?
It really doesn't change much. I know the main frustration she has is shipping costs are significantly higher to ship anything out of America to within America or outside of America. Malta, I don't think we realized at the time, has some of the cheapest international shipping options in the world. So she would regularly send her art glass pieces around the world and charge $1.50 for shipping. But now often it'll be, for the exact same thing, it costs her $10 to send. And so that's kind of a real problem. But no, otherwise, pretty much, I mean, we could do whatever we're doing any place in the world where there's internet and electricity.
No, I mean, like material wise and all that. Is it easier to get that?
No, I guess if anything, you're right. That's a good point. It's much easier for her to get materials. Basically, what she did in Malta, it costs so much to get stuff shipped in. She would recruit fans of Rahdo Runs Through and say, hey, we're going to be at Essen. Are you going to be at Essen? Would you mind carrying 70 pounds of glass on your back from the United States to Dusseldorf so we can meet up? And people would say yes. So
you have a loyal
I would abuse my
following.
minor celebrity on her behalf. And that worked out okay. But now it's easier. She can just get stuff sent here without too much trouble. Or even just go across the bridge into Portland and dodge government death squads and try to pick up some glass in person. That's also an option now. And I brought it back to politics just in time to say good night, everybody. You're welcome. You're
like fucking
welcome.
Pete all over again.
All right. Good night, Richard.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Richard.
Good night, Richard.
Anyway, so there used to be a publishing company named Philicus Spiel or Pfifficus Spiel or something like that. And it was like basically these two brothers, the Ostertogs, and they made a game called Kaivai, which is a really brutal, mean, heavy board game, which I enjoy playing a great deal. And like back then, it was like you had to, it was very tough. It was very difficult to get copies of it unless you went to Essen, and you had to like basically send them money before PayPal. Like you would send them a check, and then they would go to Germany, and then they cash the check, and then they'd send it back to you. And it was like, it took forever. But I remember there's it's a game that I really enjoy, and I don't play it nearly enough, but I don't have the expansion, and the expansion is like, it's literally like the expansion is like a couple of sheets of cardboard. And when the expansion does show up like for sale, it's like people, like there's a guy who wants $100 for like 2 sheets of cardboard and some cubes, and I'm just like, you know what, if I could just, you hate to say it, but it's like, if I could just get a screen, if I could just somehow like screenshot the cardboard pieces, I could probably make the pieces myself, and then have it, and it's just because it's one of those
What game
things.
is this again?
It's called Kaibai, Kaibai is what it's called. And it was just, it's like a completely unknown, Euro that like almost nobody knows exists. But like somebody told me it was excellent. I went to go look for it, try to find it. I ordered it directly from them like 7 years ago. I have my copy. I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of stuff going on, but the theme of the game is like, it's about basically you try to catch fish, which doesn't make much sense, and then you trade those fish for points and shells and things like that, and then you use your money to build up islands in order that actually gains your points. Then you actually bid for turn order, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And it has a lot of timing, and also you can be really cruel and mean to each other.
I feel like I've seen it, or I've seen that font. Is it possible they've done some other games with that same font in the? They
published like 4 games, and they vanished into the ether. So, but that's just one of those things where, and it's just like, but that was back when that game came out, back when like that was a game, and a lot of people knew that game existed, right? Because it was just like, it was published back in like 2005 or 2006, when there wasn't 8 billion games coming out at all at once.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I think of. Like, I think of this game, Kaibai, which I really enjoyed. How many games like that come out that I have no clue that come out now? Like none whatsoever. Just because
it used to be a dribble, and then it was a stream, and now it's an avalanche.
Exactly. And it's just, and there's no way to like, have any kind of frame of knowledge of like the stuff that you're missing out on or anything like this.
I think if something's worth noting, you'll hear about it.
Yeah, but this is one that, as Lance is saying, it's a great game, but it's under the radar of everybody else because
that's true.
It didn't get enough
Traction.
Yeah, or just didn't get seen by the right people, or didn't get played enough, or whatever.
Yeah, that is true. I see that now that I'm not as attached to the hobby or the industry. I see it. Everybody's covering the same game. That's been going on for a while.
Yep. Yeah. It's just, but that's fine. There's a billion games that come out. Just because there's one that you really want doesn't really mean anything. It's just, womp womp.
Something on that order.
The only time I ever get upset about that stuff is when I remember that I ordered it, right? And then I'm worried about it. And then just like literally, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I should really like go and like update my, like, I remember when I used to update my collection on Board Game Geek. Whenever I got a new game in, I was like, oh, I gotta go update it. I gotta put down those 3 games that I got or whatever, and just like, and then I mean, I haven't done that in years.
Yeah, I'm a little slow on that as well.
I used to just to keep track of what I had. and then I stopped doing that eventually.
Well, here's my dumb attitude with that is like I always say, well, one day I'm gonna finally do like the big purge. Like I'll get down to the 200 games, and then I'll go back in and I'll list those 200 games, and then I'll really keep track of it, and I'll click on the things I previously owned on tons of things, the things I previously owned, and then my collection will be up to date. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna.
That sounds like a complete.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Well, with me, it might. I'm getting ready to do a purge soon.
I'm to the point now where I just feel like I want to just throw a bunch of it away most of the time, just because.
There's a cute little game that I played not quite a year ago at BGG called Finito, and they're not that expensive, but they're only available in Europe if you want to find one. Clever little game of
well, can you describe it more than just saying?
So you get a board and you roll dice and you try to, the numbers you get to pick what you have on your available, and you don't have everything available at once. And then you place it on your board, and the idea is that you want to be able to place everything in order. The problem is that you don't always get to place it exactly where you want, but over the course of the game, you can move after you've got everything placed. And the first one to get everything in order on their board wins the game. So pretty simple, but it's an interesting journey, shall we say. And fairly fast and simple rules, but keeps you engaged. And isn't that what we wanted a game? Something that keeps you engaged.
Yeah. So I'm curious as what makes you guys keep a game. Like, I'm not attached. Jen has some sentimental value to some stuff, but like, what is it that makes you say, "Yeah, I'm going to keep this," even though you're not going to play it? It's like,
I mean, is it fun? Right?
Oh, this one is, and that's the thing, is that you sort of like, this is one of those where you jaw back and forth with your fellow players. It's like, oh man, you just missed there, or something to that effect, and it's like, tough choice, or and there is a randomness to it, but then it's also what choices you make with it as well.
I'm wondering. Trying to think of something here. I lost my train of thought.
Uh-oh.
Hamster.
Kick cage. I've seen a lot of posts lately. Sorry, this is a complete jump to something else here. And we've been doing a lot of gaming talk. So I want to tell anybody who's watching this who is always like, you guys don't talk enough about games. I hope you appreciate the fact that we're talking a lot about games. No, so I've seen a lot of these things like where it's like you can only pick 5 games. What 5 games do you take to the island or whatever? I hate that question.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that question because one, I mean, it's just like it'll never happen. So it's a hypothetical question that is trying to get me to answer a question that is unanswerable.
Hold on, Lance. Technically, it did. We were in lockdown, so technically, we were on an island.
Yeah, last time I checked, Amazon, I got deliveries today. So I mean, last time I checked, I can still get all the shit I want, and the garbage man still comes. So if I want to get rid of stuff, I can throw it in the garbage. So I hate that question. I just hate it. But
I agree, because one of the things you have to ask right off is, are you the only person on the island?
Right.
Yeah.
How many players?
How many players are how many other people are on the island, and how many of them like to play games? So I mean, there's some unanswered parts there that have to be determined ahead of time.
Right. What's my play group?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just I hate that question. It's like, if it isn't like you got to go and then you only can bring 5 albums. Okay, fine. What's 5 albums of music that I would never get bored of? Yeah, okay, fine. That's a little bit better. Or what 5? What? Shut up. Matt.
I just
No.
I could name two right off the bat.
Well, I didn't ask, but or top 5 movies that you'll never get bored of. You know, it's like, okay, fine. You know, I mean,
Wait, this island has electricity? Why don't you just call for help?
exactly. There's so many. There's so
Well
many
done.
holes. There's so many holes in this stupid, like basically, mind massage of a question that it just, I don't know, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, why don't they just say, what are your top 5 games, period?
Well, yeah, but I guess the impetus there is that they want to force you. It's like, oh, you can only pick 5. Like, because if you say, what's your top 5 games? I can't pick 5. You know, I mean, like, it's such a, I mean, it's just like, like if I had to pick top 5 games, I mean, like, second edition Arkham Horror is probably on that list. But then Eldritch Horror is probably on that list too, because but Eldritch Horror is a better version of Arkham Horror. But then Battlestar Galactica is on that list, and and then here's the deal, like I would probably not pick a single true Euro on that list, because all single true Euros, they just can be solved, right? You play it enough, you just figure out what you're supposed to do. You figure out, and then you just, in my opinion, you just start churning the game, trying to like see, oh, can I score more than 107 points, than I did the last time. There's definitely games like true Euros that I really enjoy, like Caverna. Like somebody comes over, hey, you want to play Caverna?
Caverna's great.
As long as it's four players or less, I'll play Caverna all day long. I mean, and you know what? It's better than Agricola. The Agricola purists need to get over themselves. Caverna is a better game. So I have spoken.
I love how this started out with you saying, I hate arguing about these things, and then it turned into, but this one's the best.
I know 5 games any gamer on a deserted island should know. This should be their top 5 no matter who they are. It is hunting, fishing, gathering, building a shelter, and finding potable water.
There you go.
Because if you don't do them 5, you're fucked, and you're not playing the game anyway.
Those are games that can last you your entire life too.
Yeah. Ask Wilson.
Yep.
Well said. And you know what? I'll tell, notice he said that after Richard left. I have told Richard repeatedly that Converter is a better game, and his reasons against it are wrong. So
I agree with you. I like Caverna, and I got rid of my copy of Agricola.
Here's the thing. There's one thing I really don't like about Caverna, and it's just misrepresentation of my point, where it was just kind of like, oh, like I remember reading the thing, you could even send your dwarfs on adventures, and I was like, that sounds cool. Like, hey, go find the Mines of Moria. No, it's just another mechanism to get points. But yeah, it was just kind of like, oh,
yeah,
awesome.
well,
I get to outfit an adventuring band, and they get to go out. No, it's just here, send these guys off, and they can get you 7 points. Oh, okay. Still, I enjoyed building my cavern way more than I ever did building my farm.
I couldn't compare. I've only played Caverna. I never played Caverna.
I would.
Chad Roberts wants me to say, you see the Goodman reprint of the Lost City came out this week from Goodman? Yes, and I own it, because B4 Lost City is probably one of the best D&D modules ever written, and the fact that they did that big giant book of a reprint is awesome. Anyway, carry on.
Is that what we're playing on Saturday?
No.
Well, you're just giving us crappy scenarios?
It would be tough. Hey, you're doing a murder / kidnapping mystery. Just get over it and relax.
Only if the other party members don't get us murdered first.
We almost had a TPK tonight.
Oh yeah, why? What happened? Tell me. I love stories.
We're playing Strahd.
Okay. Good module.
Pardon me?
Very good module.
Yeah, I've never played it before. Last time I played something like that was Ravenloft back in AD. My AD days.
That's what it's based on, though.
Well, exactly. It's expanded, right? So
it's kind of tough to like say you run into Strahd fairly recently, and you're supposed to like role play with him. You know he's the evil guy.
Yeah.
It's just like. But anyway,
they were like these. We ran into these 7 like Phantom Knights or something, and we're all like 8th level, and I think 4 out of 5 or 6 of us were unconscious at one point. But luckily, one of our healers was still around and ended up bringing people back and saving the day.
We literally almost wiped on the very first encounter because the group was like, oh, there's a giant big F-off wolf in that cave. Sure, let's go fight that.
So they basically they're all
F-off
creeping. They all creeped up towards the cavern entrance in the middle of the night. They have been saying that there are werewolves up there, which
and I would just like to point out the entire time my character said we should not be here.
What are you playing, Chris?
I'm playing a monk from the city.
Ooh.
City boy.
So the wolf charges. This giant wolf charges out of the cave, nearly kills the cleric in one hit. They all like freak out. They all hammer on it after they all beat the tar out of it for like a good round or two. They finally kill it, and then they're like, oh, that was scary. And then the cleric uses his one healing spell to bring himself back up to full. And then they were like, well, let's go see what else is in the cave. And I was just like, oh, about 6 more of them, I wanted to say, but okay, let's go. Just like, and then they started dropping like flies. Pretty quickly after that.
It was amazing. I still can't believe we got out of that.
Well, there was a bunch of lucky. You almost lost a couple of characters. You basically had a couple lucky rolls, and then you all just ran off.
I ended up casting Moonbeam and then wild shaping into a scorpion and crawling into a crevice between two like stones, so I could keep it concentration and just deal damage every round.
Just pin it in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was fun though. Well, hopefully they've realized that there are dangerous things. They will not have to give quite so many warnings.
Do you really think they have, though?
No, I don't think they have. So the adventure literally started out with us walking up to the gates of the city, or of this small town, where there's an angry mob out front. And the paladin takes the lead, starts talking to them, and immediately enrages them even further. It will just not stop.
This is coming up all high and mighty.
Right.
Evidently.
Oh man, I ended up with one of us being thrown in jail.
Was it you?
What was that?
Was it you?
No, it wasn't me.
No. So basically, the premise of the beginning, to get them to where they're going, they're all like basically the equivalent of like a deputy sheriff from a town called Endhome, and there's this small village community in the barony of Lornadane, and the village name is Lornadane as well. Basically the shipments of grain have like stopped coming from this thing, and this isn't like you can't call them. So they basically sent this party of adventurers, who work in the city, go there, find out what's going on, and fix it. You have our
order D&D.
Yeah, you have jurisdiction. Go there, find out what the problem is, fix it, and be done with it. So they get there. They travel by wagon. They get there. Immediately, a big giant group of people comes out of this walled village. They come out all brandishing like pitchforks and clubs, and they immediately want to know, what are you doing here? Because they obviously look like very like angry. So the party's like, what's going on? You're like, we don't want any outsiders. We don't want any problems. We just want you to keep. And they're like, we're here to help. And they're like, well, we don't trust you. We want to search you, and we want to search your wagon.
And the paladin's like, we're going in.
So the wagon had already gone into this barn, and so the half-elf thief, she says, I'll bring you to the wagon, you can search it. And then one of them goes with her, and they walk over to the wagon, and she says to them, what's going on? And the one person that went with her says, well, there's been a problem with some of the villagers. And that's all he says. And her response immediately was, there are villagers missing?
No, there's children missing.
There are children missing? And he said, I didn't say anybody was missing.
How do you
I
know
didn't
they're
say there was
missing?
children.
Where are the children? What did you do with the children? And they all charge for it. They drag
Just
her
a
Was that
around.
like
on first, like
was that like meta? Is that why? Does she know that or?
No,
No.
she just had no clue. Jason, the person running her, just drew the leap of logic and said, "There's villagers missing. What happened to them?" And then
How did
and
you
these
know?
people,
Lucky
there,
guess.
there are several missing children, and everybody's like wondering where their children are, and so they drug her off to jail, and the lynch party formed, and
Right.
we'll find out what happened to the children, and the sheriff's like, everybody settle down.
Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, maybe we should like do some reconnaissance first and figure out what's going on. Nope, straight in.
I'd be lying if I didn't say that our dragonborn paladin with a Eastern European accent hasn't gotten us into trouble more than once.
Oh man, yeah.
Dragonborn.
I'm actually looking forward to the campaign. I think this one will be fun. It's
Well, yeah, I just couldn't believe it. Like, it was like just the worst thing you could have possibly said at that moment. But-
right. It really was. Well, and that's the thing that was cracking me up when it was happening. Is like, guys, you understand, like, this is an angry mob, and you are literally doing the worst things you could be doing right now to escalate the situation. I was honestly surprised you didn't have them attack us. Like,
I mean, because I didn't really want to it was like one of those things where it's like eventually, like, it was like, all right, let's just see if they can just talk their way out of it and garner some sort of faith or something out of the people.
Oh man.
It was fun, and then they spent most of the session investigating the situation, which was good. They were basically doing their Sherlock Holmes
to head off to the werewolves, because why not? We're level 1.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing too, they were like the crazy old lady saying, "I know it's the werewolves. You need to go and fix it." And they were like, "All right, well, yeah." And it was one of those things where the players were like, "Well, it's probably not werewolves, but we should go look into it." And they actually started thinking the old lady that was crazy, she's probably a werewolf. She's just trying to. I don't know. It was
So the best part about it though was the fact that the party was like, "Oh, well, like maybe it is a werewolf. We'll go." And I'm like, do we have any silver weapons? No.
What level are you?
What are we gonna do? Yell at the werewolf? We're level 1.
Hey, stop that!
Please, Mr. Werewolf, don't gnaw on my femur.
Your mother was a hamster. Father smelt of elderberries.
Just
Well,
completely unprepared.
not to RPG stuff more, but I mean, I remember it's like the old Shadowrun game. If you played Shadowrun, like,
Oh god, Shadowrun was fantastic.
Shadowrun was fantastic, but the thing about Shadowrun is that if it was anything to do with magic, like elementals or like summon spirits or any of those things, dragons, anything, they were impervious to like bullets. Like you couldn't shoot them. It just didn't work. Because they were magic, and
you
and
better
so,
like have a magic user or an adept.
yeah. If a fire elemental got summoned to kill you, there was nothing you could do. Then they changed it. They changed it so like it wasn't like absolutely impossible to do something. They changed it. You could just make we called it, you attack with your hate. Basically, it was like you could use your charisma stat to basically like use your force of will to attack them in some way, and it was just like, but the problem is like most like street samurai trolls had a charisma of 1. So like you had at 1d6. I'm gonna attack with my hate.
I'm thinking very hard at you.
I hate you so much. No, I'm just gonna run. Me and my Panther assault cannon and minigun, we're just gonna run away and yell for the mage, just like help. Though I do remember everybody's got 1,000 stories about RPGs, and they're all, a lot of them sound like people just make this shit up. But like, truth be told,
that's the best part.
There was Brad played a mage, and like he spent all this money on all this foci or whatever you call it, to like basically ramp up his magical powers so he could summon a very, very, very powerful fire elemental.
and like basically it nearly killed him, but like he managed to summon like a Force 12 fire elemental, which is basically like the like has the fires of like a dying sun, just like intense. And he had one task. He got one success, and he could give it one task, and he held on to that guy forever until we were at like the top, like basically almost like the very end of the entire campaign. We're trapped at the top of the skyscraper, like attack choppers swirling around, everything known to man coming to kill us. And he broke the seal on the thing, and this immense fire elemental shows up, just writhing, and just like the entire room, and we're all like staring like. And he's like, what is your bidding? And he said, I need you to kill everything in this tower. And I was like, except for us. He said, except for us.
Oh.
He said, he didn't, and to Jason, or the guy who was running the campaign, to his credit, he said it was like basically the element was like, oh, he like shakes down, and then like left us alone, and immediately just went outside first and just blew up the attack choppers, and then just started going floor after floor down, burning the place to cinders.
Oh, how did he avoid the temptation to just kill all of you right there?
I don't know, because it was like it was very close to it. It was a campaign that our GM, he decided when he made it, it was going to be like an apocalyptic end of the world type of thing. So we all died anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But, it's like, but we kind of saved the world kind of thing, but not really kind of thing. Yeah. So
someone can rebuild from the ashes.
Yeah, I do remember like we had a character like I just had a classic troll street samurai, and I remember like towards the end I had this giant, like basically the giant minigun, that he used everywhere in every single battle, and at the end he was so ripped up with so many enhancements and everything. It was just ridiculous. And we got to the end, and like the big elder god thing or whatever was coming to destroy the world, and I knew we couldn't do it. And there was a character in our party, and just like he was the most annoying physical adept character. He never did anything right. He just annoyed my character so much. And I was like, as Doom came down to us, I was like, you know what, full auto, I shoot the kid's head. Just like just sprayed him up against the wall, and then boom, we all died. And I was like, well, my character's last thought was like, I never liked you. Just like,
worth it.
Hey Shane, what's up, boss?
Guys,
you're in your darkened cove, it looks like.
I guess.
I have to say that chair does look extremely comfortable.
Oh, that looks like
it's actually too comfortable. It's actually too comfortable.
It looks like a good napping chair is what that looks like.
Yeah.
Feet up and then bloop, lights out.
That has actually happened before.
Must be my old recliner.
There's nothing. There is something like we have a good napping couch upstairs, and there's been so many times when it's like 11 o'clock at night, I'm watching some show that I could turn off if I wanted to, and my wife always says, "You coming to bed?" "Yeah, I'm just gonna finish this up." She's like, "You won't be in bed until 3." Just because as soon as she's gone, it's just like, yeah, I'll just watch one more.
Right.
Just 4 o'clock in the morning. Where am I?
I lost the
plot. I fell asleep in my D&D game tonight.
You fell asleep during your D&D game?
Almost. There was one of the characters was off doing some role-playing stuff. I'm like, well, I'll just kind of kick back a little bit, recline in my chair. And I kind of came up with a start.
That's the worst feeling. I remember, do you remember falling asleep in school? And you all thought when you did this, you're reading, you have the book and you're like, yep. Yeah, I'm totally fooling everybody here. Nobody has any clue when I'm like this.
I would wear a hooded sweatshirt for that exact reason, so I could put both hands underneath, and the hood would support my head, and I'd just be completely out, looking down with my head above my desk. I'm sure my teachers knew, but yeah, it was just...
I still remember, I remember the first time that I ever fell asleep in class was, I remember I was it was like 6th or 7th grade, and it was like, film strip day and earth science or something, and I was in the back. And I remember I was sitting there, and I was just like, and one of the things I'd always end up doing during like film strip days is I'd usually have a D&D book, and I would just take that out, and when I didn't, I would sit there and read that. But I remember totally one of those things where I put my head down, and I was completely out, and I woke up right as the film strip was ending. So so I woke up and the lights come on, and I thought for sure I was gonna be in so much trouble. And I was just like, when you're so young and you think the teachers give a shit, they're just like, I don't care. You want to fall asleep? Go ahead.
Right.
And then you're just like, oh, you're like, hey, and it's just like, but then I realized, oh, they don't care. Just like, before you realize that these people, they just don't care.
Hopefully no impressionable youths are watching.
It's just
Fall asleep in class, kids.
no. I remember. I had a teacher, an economics teacher, Jim Moan, and he would play pranks. He would because he'd see the kid fall asleep in high school, and he'd tell all the kids, shh, everybody would get up out of their, and they'd all go out in the hallway, and they just they would and he'd just have everybody go out in the hallway, and he'd continue doing the lecture out there. And then the kid would wake up, and he'd open the door to the room, and or he kicked, if you're like this, he'd kick the bottom of your desk, so you'd pop up like this. If you didn't catch yourself, you'd crack your head on your desk.
Ow.
Just like, are you with us, Mr. Masterson? Now if you did that, of course, you'd be making fun of them or something, and you'd
there'd be a lawsuit.
Yeah,
definitely a lawsuit.
I think about some of the shit you got away with. Even recently, when I worked with the trains, I did the overnight shift. It was 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning.
Choose me.
So naturally, some guys would fall asleep. Yeah, but this real annoying guy, he was a pain in the ass. He fell asleep one day in a chair, so we wrapped him up in a chain in the chair and then put him up on the hoist about 10, 15 feet in the air. If we did that today, all of us would be fired, definitely, but we'd probably get incarcerated.
I'm just impressed he stayed asleep the entire time.
It wasn't the whole time. Once we got the chain on him, he woke up. By then, it was too late. He was already strapped onto the crane.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's a lot of clanking and moving going on.
At that point, you think he learned, but one of the issues we had was we had a narrow parking lot that bottleneck where you could only get one car out. And he blocked the center of this fucking thing all the time, right?
Jeez.
So one day, I was there for a half hour waiting for this guy after my shift was done. So I got pissed off. I got one of the bigger forklifts. I lifted his car up and put it on top of the dumpster, and then left.
Ow.
Oh man, I'll never forget my my rookie year with the Vikings. That was Lance. You remember Erasmus James?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
one of our never-ending quests to find a guy who is decent at playing defensive end.
Yep. So this guy was a first-round draft pick, defensive lineman, was supposed to be this great, next great thing coming out of college. Where did he go? I think it was Wisconsin, wasn't it? Right. Anyways, he really pissed off a couple of the veterans in the locker room, really pissed them off, and so they waited until about, I think it was late November, early December, when it starts getting really cold in Minnesota. And during practice, what they did was they took all of his clothes, draped them over his car, and then hosed them down, and then went out to practice.
Oh.
And so when we got done with practice, he comes back into the locker room. It's like, where's my clothes? And the veteran's like, why don't you check outside? Just completely frozen solid to his car.
Oh my God.
The best Viking story that I ever heard was the kicker, and this is I think before your time. The kicker, his brother-in-law was an offensive lineman, and he during practice or something during preseason he made a joke or something. he cracked wise at the lineman for some reason.
Yeah, you should never do that.
And so they including his brother-in-law, they grabbed him, wrapped him up in athletic tape,
Mhm.
and then took him and hung him upside down from the goalpost and
Ooh.
took pictures and took pictures of him like they caught a hunting thing. And then he was like, I thought it was pretty funny until they walked away. And I still thought it was kind of funny because I thought then they started shutting off the lights.
Yep.
It's just
Oh.
Yeah, there were a couple rookies each year who would get taped to the goalposts. That was
well, I was wondering, they can't just sit there and let it happen, don't they? Try to, like, was it just like they got to be like one of those things where
it's one of the, so there's not, I will say all the coaches I had were very clear that like, hey, like you're not doing like asshole hazing, right? Like you're not trying to hurt people, you're not trying to make them miserable, but like you're rookies in the NFL. Like this is the only time you're going to be in a rookie in the NFL. Like the veterans will have some fun, but you know it's supposed to be in good spirits, team bonding, stuff like that, and everyone goes through it. Like so, like and I mean, it might be different at different teams. I think a lot of it depends on the head coach and what atmosphere they establish. But I was fortunate that all the head coaches I had were like, yeah, some hazing's okay, but like nothing bad, nothing that really upsets guys. So yeah, and a lot of it was just like just stupid little pranks, like taping a guy to a goalpost. The icy hot in the cleats was another good one. It's that you don't forget. You learn to check your cleats real quick after that happens once. It is not fun.
After a few minutes, you're like, what is wrong?
Right? Like, why are my toes burning so bad?
At first, you're like, oh, it's kind of cold.
Yeah.
Oh God, what is happening?
That someone got me with that in college, and like it was during weightlifting. So like we're in the weight room for like an hour and a half, and it starts kicking in right about 10 minutes in, and I'm just like I can't leave. Like I have to keep working out. Oh, I was so pissed. I got the person back by taking all of the shoelaces out of their cleats, tying them in multiple knots around their helmet, and then taping their entire helmet. So that was
it just seems cruel. It doesn't seem.
Have you had icy hot in your feet for an hour and a half?
No, but I mean, it's just like, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems like it's like, why? What can we do that's just mean? And
okay, so that's the thing. Like, it's not a terrible
It's a bonding
sensation.
thing.
It sucks, but it's not something where you're like, oh God, this is a life-altering event. Like, it's just like, oh man, I'm gonna find who did this, and I'm going to do something appropriately justified in return.
Well, I'll give them a look by God. I will, I don't know. It just seems weird to me that that's just accepted. Like it just like in any other corporate world, if you did it, they'd be like, "You're out the fucking door."
I think
it's different.
oh, go ahead.
It's a little different with like blue collar and athletes.
It's especially the
it's a bonding thing
of the sport. Like you're used to hitting each other and running into each other and like trying to cause pain to each other. Like that is what football is. You're trying to cause pain to the other player to make them stop doing what they're doing, right? Like it doesn't matter. Probably punting and kicking are the only positions that you don't have to worry about that. But even then, like if you have to get in on a tackle or someone comes up to block you, like you're going to experience it. So yeah, I mean it's a lot more physical humor, I would say, as opposed to to more cerebral pursuits.
Well, you were all about just getting in there and tackling people, right?
Oh, for sure. Here's the thing. I never had a problem with tackling. I just wasn't fast enough to catch people.
You're like, well, there he goes.
Yep. It's like that guy ran a 4.3 40. I ran a 5.1. I am not catching him.
God, who was it? It was some kicker when I was going to Florida State. I just remember this kicker, and like he was the last guy. Mm-hmm. And he just ran this dude down and like tackled him at like the 2-yard line after like on a return. And it was just like, holy crap.
Right?
Like you we're just like, how did that happen? Like how?
And that guy never lived it down either. He was like sitting there saying, it's just like, the kicker ran you down.
When you get a chance, go on YouTube and look up Pat McAfee. He was a punter for the Indianapolis Colts. I forget which game it was exactly. I think it was in like 2009 or 2010, but he absolutely lays out the returner on a return. Like the returner's coming down the sideline and Pat comes screaming in from off screen and just boom, just levels the dude. It was like, oh my God.
I wonder if I wonder if you like I wonder if all that's left is the kicker. You got to be thinking, well, this is going to be easy. It's in the bag.
Yep.
And then you get laid out.
Right? So that was the best part, like in film session the next day, is like if anyone got tackled by the kicker or the putter, they got so much shit. It's like, what, you couldn't beat the kicker?
Right.
Like, you kidding me?
You're like, but he could be fast. You're like,
Right?
whatever.
Well, that's the funny thing. So Brian Mormon, the punter for the Buffalo Bills for a long time, he was actually a like all-state champion in track and field in college. Like this dude was legit fast. Like he could run. He could just also kick a football really far. So he ended up being a punter. It was yeah, he got, I think I've told this before, but he got absolutely destroyed in a Pro Bowl by Sean Taylor where they ran a fake punt. And normally, like in the Pro Bowl, you don't really try to kill people, but it was like, oh, you're running a fake punch, boom, just brutalized him.
Oh, God.
Sports.
So what kind of coach do you think Bill Belichick is when it comes to pranks?
So that's the weird thing. Like he seems like the kind of guy that actually would be okay with it, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, in some way, as long as it doesn't get in the way of any of the
Exactly.
actual.
Yeah. Like if you come up with something clever and it doesn't interfere with football, he seems like the kind of guy who'd be like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But if it got in the way of football, he would murder you.
Yeah, it'd be like, no, your prank time is your own time, but
He's like, I have hunted down your family.
exactly.
Well, now he gets to win without Brady.
Oh man,
We'll see.
The thing is, I think he legit has a chance. Like, so I can't stand Bill Belichick as a person just because his political stances I'm not a huge fan of. But as a football coach, he is one of the best football coaches I think has ever coached the game. Because like you look at how many seasons they've been able to win.
You can't.
Substandard roster, like, and I'm talking about like you know you've got receivers and linemen that are like, who are these guys? Right?
Yeah.
But he makes it work. Like, and the thing that makes him so great as a football coach is that he finds what his players' strengths are and what their weaknesses are, and he says, I'm going to highlight your strengths and I'm going to hide your weaknesses as much as possible. Whereas other coaches are like, okay, here's my scheme. Either you fit into it or I'm going to try to make you fit into it. And that just doesn't work.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's there. I've played under quite a few coaches that have been like, this is the scheme, you're gonna do it. It's like, but I'm not good for that scheme. Tough luck. And it's like, well, how do you expect to win games? Like if someone's really good at a certain thing, help them be good at that thing. Like,
well, that's hard. Like,
right? You actually have to pay attention.
like, oh, this is my scheme. Like, this is what we're doing.
Right?
You're like, but you don't have the personnel for it. Yeah, I know, but we're gonna try it.
Oh God, freaking Childress was the worst at that. Like it was legit. Like Childress was, this is the plan. We're doing the plan. It's like, but the plan's not working. We're doing the plan. It's just like,
well,
man.
You know, every armchair quarterback at halftime is just going, why do you keep doing the same?
Right? Oh, trust me, in the locker room, we'd have the same discussions.
You're getting destroyed. And then you go out and you go, what are you going to do? More of the same and hope for a different result. It's like the definition of insanity.
Yep, do the same thing. Like I will tell you, there were legit multiple games where on the sideline, I'd be talking with, the kicker and the long snapper, and we'd be like, why are we still doing this? What? This is not working. Like, I guess I'm going out to punt again. Like, getting my work in.
You're like, yeah, I'm earning my keep.
Yep. It's just, yeah. Yeah, you don't really want to have a 9 or 10 punt game. That's not a good game.
No. I guess if you were somehow on somebody's fantasy team, I don't know if that's I don't think that's even a thing, but I suppose that could be good. But
right.
We had to get rid of the kickers off of our fantasy teams because they were too much of a wild card.
Yeah, I can see that.
We had punters on one of our on our fantasy teams one year.
I
was
actually
like-
had a couple people ask me how I would go about putting punters in fantasy. I'm like, it's
The
pretty
way it
easy.
worked for us is you got points for fair catches, and then there was bonus points for inside like the 5, inside the 10, inside the 20.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was just like and like you but like returns, like if you it went by, there was a lot of net yardage
Right.
that was important as well. So I mean, so like and it was just like, and if you got a run back on you, it just killed you.
Well, and so the thing that sucks about net yardage is that, like, unless you know what you're looking for, you don't know if it's the punter's fault or if it's the coverage team's fault. Because sometimes it can be absolutely the punter's fault. Like you hit a shank, low line drive, guy gets it, your returners aren't in their lanes yet, and he just breaks a seam. Like, yeah, that's on the punter. But then there are times when you hit like a beautiful punt and your guys just don't tackle or they get out of their lanes, and it's like, I couldn't have done anything else.
Well, the thing was that we got rid of it after a year because me and another guy realized, Craig actually, you know who he is. That's always I say it. And I won this year because I realized that it was just like everybody else, like we're like, oh, I gotta get like the best, get this guy because he's the best, Johnny Hecker or something. He's the best punter in the league. And I would just be like, because each punt was going to be worth points. So
Right.
it was like, so
You
I
want
just was
punter on
like,
the worst
I was
team.
like, yeah, basically I was like,
Yeah.
let's see what the number one defense
Cleveland
is.
Browns.
The Ravens have the best defense, okay, and they're facing the Browns, okay, and give them the Browns punter, and I would pick him up, and the next week I drop him and I pick up a different guy.
I feel like if it was the Browns, you would just be using them a lot anyway.
Well,
Yep.
no, if you went straight Browns, like there was a lot of time because their special teams sucked, so it was just like you didn't want to. So also I cross-referenced who's leading the league right now of the punters that are available. Who has the most who's getting the most fair catches, and I would look for that, and it would just be like, who's got an offense that's just good enough to get them to like the 50,
Right.
just can't seem to score, and I would just cross-reference that, and my punters would score like 20, 25 points for me every week.
Yeah. Well, especially if you've got that offense that stalls out right at midfield, because then your punter's just dropping them inside the 20 like every time.
Except for you never seem to be able to do that for us.
Oh yeah, no, I was terrible.
You were horrible. Just the worst.
The worst.
The worst. You know what? I honestly, I was thinking about that the other day. We were talking about that. I was like, was there ever a game we were like, Chloe, what the fuck were you thinking? I was like, yeah. And it's just like, no, I don't think there really was. I mean, I'm not trying to like kiss your ass or anything. I just
okay, let me jog your memory. Playing New Orleans, 2009. No, sorry, 2007, I think it was.
we didn't play New Orleans in 2009. I don't remember that at all.
No, not the NFC Championship game. This would have been a year or two before. It was the Monday Night Football game, when Reggie Bush returned. I think it was 3 for touchdowns.
Oh yes, I remember that too. We were like, why are we even kicking? Just like we'd be better off heaving up like a Hail Mary for a interception return, than we are right now.
So I think it was 2 for touchdowns. Yeah. So one of those was my fault. One of those was not my fault. It was not a fun game.
Oh, there's nothing worse than a punt return for a touchdown. I mean, sorry for all the sports ball talk, everybody. You got a lot of board game stuff. So
I don't think you really are, Lance. You always say that, but I don't think you are.
no.
Is Aldi coming on tonight? Do you know?
Well, I don't know. I keep telling him Kevin's going to be here, and then he's just like, oh, no. He's probably playing. Well, I know that he's got some stuff going on as far as his family and stuff too. So, if he's, I mean, there's, so he might have a legit reason.
I had an idea I want to run by him.
Oh yeah, what is it? Not being so lame.
A couple years ago, I watched was shut down, sit down and shut up, whatever they are. Did this coverage on a game in England where there was like 10 groups of countries, 10 groups of people that represented different countries, and there was an alien invasion. I think it was called The Greatest Game. I can't remember what it was, but I was thinking we could probably do something like that now that everybody's on Zoom, and I want to talk to Audie about the technical side of it.
So almost like an Olympics for board games.
It was like an 8-hour game. I can't remember the name of it. There's different versions of them. This one happened to be an alien invasion, and like I said, it was like 10 different countries I think represented with I don't know, 6 people in each group or 4 people in each group. And then another group representing the aliens and a bunch of moderators. And it started off as like there was a nuclear weapon shot off or something, and then all this stuff, and then eventually the aliens came into play. And it was pretty interesting. I like I said, I can't remember the name. And I know this is like, they do it up in Canada, and I think they do it here. It's like an all-day thing. And it really fascinated me. You know, that not only somebody would put this much thought into a game, but that it was actually functional, you know?
So
Fascinating.
was it all like role playing, like werewolf style, or were there actual like physical components to it?
There was a bit of role playing, like say each country had a president or the equivalent of the president for the country, and then like Secretary of State and this and that, and like the moderators would drop hints, or you know, each group would send one representative to a center group at some time to discuss what's happening in the world. You know, like say China and Australia are moving their carriers closer to each other and stuff like that.
You know, that reminds me of that thing that people host a lot, which is the alien invasion thing, where you know, if you typed in like large all day long, like it's one of those things where you pay $25 and there's moderators, and each person, there's like a group of 5 people, and each person represents a different nation, and then like the alien races are invading the US or invading the world basically. And so all of the different nations, like, and then slowly but surely, like some of the nations will switch sides and actually become shadow governments for like for the aliens and things like that. I've been invited to a few of those, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, it's all weekend. You get here on Friday and you start playing at 6 and you don't get done until Sunday at like midnight. And I'm like, what if after like the day and a half, you're like, this sucks. I'm not having any fun. You know, just like, you know, just like, really? I'm here till tomorrow midnight? Yeah, France is out.
Yeah.
I'd be worried after like 2 hours.
There is the mega game. Kip said it.
Chris
like a timeline
Batarlis,
on that.
the guy who runs Everything Epic Games, one of his side gigs, his side hustles, is that he runs a giant like Game of Thrones-esque thing like that, where it is an entire weekend, you know, and it's just a big giant event, and like him and like all of his cronies dress up in the full regalia, you know, and it's like, I forget, I had to find it, but I mean, it's just like, it's and like each faction is represented, you know, it isn't like the Lannisters, but it's the Dracolisters and stuff like that, you know, and they're the ones with all the money, you know, and just like, so I mean, it's obviously based on the proprietary information, you know, and there's like, you know, of course, like I think it's like the what is it? But there's the Clan of the North who protect us, you know, who have the, you know, they are honorable, the honorable clan to the north, you know, that you know, just, you know, has a lineage to the king, but you know, does not exercise it because, you know, blah blah blah. But no, I mean again, that sounds really fun. But what if like you're the one family that like everybody's like, hey, we're gonna do this, and like all the other 6 families say, let's just murder the fuck out of them.
Right? Like, oh no,
really? Really? I paid $75 and I got a hotel room, a $500 hotel room for the next 2 days. And we're all dead? Really?
We got wiped out in the opening.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and dispute this on my credit card. Thanks.
I paid $100 to be Ned Stark. What the fuck?
This is bullshit. Is what this is.
Yeah, I feel like nobody would play that game through the entire weekend. Like nobody. Like there'd be like 2 people that like were left.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally be one of those things where if it was me, I'd be like, and like you were out or whatever, it'd just be like, okay, what kind of car did you drive? You know, your tires look really new.
Or did I say look? I meant looked.
Yeah. That would not be humorous to me. I would be livid. would be the word. I'd just like, this sucks. But that's just it. Like, Shane, what do you think of big 4-hour-long games like what was the game? Indonesia.
So I don't know. My patience for those keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, I mean, when I first got in this hobby, there were a lot of those games, and if you wanted to play, like, that's kind of what you did. Like, you played really long. Like, a short game was 2.5 hours. Like, that was a short, that was a short game. So, so I guess it was just because I was kind of used to it. But now, like, 4 hours sounds on a game, just, I guess it depends on the game, but like a 4-hour mathy Euro, like, seriously, I think I would rather, I don't know, I would rather have a root canal. I'm not even then do that, right? Like, really? I mean, it's just that there's so many good experiences that you can get in board games in under 2 hours. I'd rather play 2 really good, like, under 2-hour games than one sloggy kind of AP 4-hour, where I'm sitting around and, 30 minutes in between each turn towards the end, and it's just not fun anymore.
So the thing about a lot of those that like, because I remember the reason I brought that up is because Shane, like Indonesia is a Splotter game, if you know who Splotter are, and it's probably their most accessible game before they came out with Food Chain Magnate. But anyway, so Indonesia is, like I said, it's more of a straightforward like Euro, and then so Shane's like, yeah, so I'm gonna get to go play Indonesia this weekend. A buddy of mine is gonna teach it to me. I've had this game for like 3 years, never got it to the table. I was like, oh, you're gonna have a lot of fun. It's a fun game. He calls me the day after. Yeah, Indonesia, that game sucked. It went right on eBay. It went right on eBay, and some sucker bought it for $80. So,
it was more than that.
Called me as he's driving to work. Goes, yeah, Indonesia's a good game. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that game sucked. Thankfully, I played my friend's game, so mine was still in shrink. I got some sucker to buy it from me.
I think there's 2 types of length of games, and it's the actual amount of time, and then the time that you think it took you.
Yeah.
And there are hour-long games that feel like 3.
Yeah.
And 2.5-hour games that feel like an hour and a half.
And and I agree. And those ones that are really long and only felt like you were playing for an hour and a half are great games.
Yeah, Kalis comes to mind for me. That's
Kalis
one
is a classic.
You can top 2 hours pretty easily, and yet by the time you're done, you're going, wait, we've been here how long? And it only felt like an hour and a half.
Yeah, but how many times have you played Kalis? Would you guess?
Guess probably in the 15, 16 range.
And you'd still want to play it? I mean, like when I get to that level, I'm like, I just don't want to play it anymore. I don't know. I guess.
Really?
I don't know. I'm weird like that,
I haven't played in a couple of years, but I would play it again.
See, I don't play like most people do. Like I play to win, but it's more like I do. I don't. It's like
said the loser.
Yeah.
No, it's just I'm not really competitive like that with that.
So I'm with Barry on that, in that like I play to win. I mean, Lance obviously knows that.
Shut up, Shane.
but at the end of the day, like it's a game. Like we're supposed to be having fun, and
I mean, well, you've already had your heart broken and broke all the hearts of all the Minnesota Vikings fans.
Right,
when
exactly.
You failed to win in the NFC Championship game, which we would have won. That team totally would have won that game. We would have had a Super Bowl win.
I did my job. But it's one of those things where it's like, to me, in the moment, yes, like I'm making the best decisions possible because I do want to win. But after the game's over, like there was nothing writing on that. Like there's no relation to my self-worth of whether I won or lost. Like I just want to have a good time. I want other people to have a good time so we can play games again. Because the worst thing is to walk
said
away.
The loser.
Right.
I've seen guys with the beer monitors. They held grudges. Between the games they lost with each other.
Oh,
I
there
don't
are
get
people
that.
there are people I won't play certain types of games with because they're just the biggest. They're the biggest turds in the game of all time. Like there are people that who have tanked games on person. I mean, and that's I mean, I don't get really upset about a lot of things, but I mean, just could you at least just pretend to be trying? Could you just
Right,
maybe take a turn? Could you not just hand that guy the tile that's going to give him 73 points, please? Could you just
deliberately suboptimal plays will upset me because it's like if you're playing the game, at least make an effort. At least pretend you're invested in what we're doing here, because otherwise it doesn't work. If we're not all invested in what's going on, then why are we here? So yeah, tanking sucks.
What about table talking someone into making bad moves?
Oh,
you?
I hate that.
That's my favorite because I'm so good at it. I am so good at it.
What I hate the most is when you're up next and the person's taking their turn and you're sitting there and you're like, and they're not even looking at the thing you want. They're not even coming close to the thing you want. They're like, okay, yeah, I really need to take this ship, or I really need to go ahead and get this card or whatever. And you're like, cool, I need those 2 brick, and he's not even going to take my thing. And the other guy goes, if that guy gets 2 brick, he's going to get 10 points. What is your problem?
That's me. That's me.
I want to just grab the table and throw it. Just like one player to a team, huh?
So the problem with me and my brother when we play games is we can't play 3-player games because those games always devolve into me and my brother trying to table talk the other person into screwing over.
Or if it's an area control game or anything, any kind of game that you can have a mutual victory at the end, like I explain how the game works. Like my buddy Craig will always say, "Let's all gang up on Lance." All of us can win and he loses. I was like, I will murder you. I would just
all your friends gang up on you. It's not just us.
Yeah, shut up.
I don't think you should gang up on one person over and over again. I just like to point out suboptimal plays that people may be making if it doesn't benefit me and it's going to hurt the other players. So, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, people do it to me all the time, and you're like, all right, well, it's fair enough.
Well, then if people are doing it to you, then they're shitty too. I mean, I hate that argument. Other people do it. Well, yeah, they're pieces of shit then too for doing that. So I mean, it's just like
I think there's a time and a place for it, and I think the time that is appropriate is when you're all learning a new game, and then it's sort of like what you see and you point out it to something else, or you're teaching it to somebody the first time. But if you all know how to play the game, then yeah, tabletop really shouldn't be out there as much.
Thank you, Kevin. There is justice. There is people that
I figure that's the next level, right? That's the next level of play, right? That's
to quote Walter Sobchak. To quote Walter Sobchak from Big Lebowski. My only one here who cares about the fucking rules. Just over the line.
The thing is, though, is that
I
mean, if you missed something, it's not my fault that you missed it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to point it out.
Well, so that is the other thing, though, is that I will table talk and say, like, okay, hey, yeah, that'll really screw over that person. But I will also point out that, like, hey, the move you're making right now is suboptimal. You can do this and make my life miserable as well. Because to me,
but no.
But again, if you're teaching it to somebody new,
is that what you're talking about, Chris? Like newer players?
No. I'm talking about even playing against. So Lance, you can attest to this. When we've been playing like Champions of Midgard and stuff like that, like I pointed out when there have been moves that have been suboptimal that will hurt me if the other person makes them. Because the thing is that way we're all getting better at the game, because if I can't recognize that move when it's happening, I'm not as good at the game as I want to be. So like ideally I should be recognizing what is the optimal move in every situation from every position on the board if I really want to be good at that game.
Nah.
And again, winning, it doesn't really matter that much.
Oh. So what do you guys think? Like with the Secret Cabal guys, if like we did something and we just finished our move and said, I screwed up. Can we take that back? You know, or I meant to do this or that. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, there's a certain thing where it's like, I kind of go back to, if it's like, okay, we're just doing this to have fun kind of thing or whatever, that's one thing, I mean, and I'm like, okay, whatever, but there's also one of those things too, where it's like, if I'm playing this and I'm already on my, it's kind of like slow rolling a little bit in poker, where you're just like, where you think oh, cool, you didn't take the thing that I want. Cool. Now I get to do the thing that I want. Oh, actually, I meant to do that. You're like,
no, I'm not saying that.
Fine.
Like, say you just finished, and the next guy didn't quite take his turn, or girl, didn't quite take his turn, and then he's like, oh wait, I realized I meant to do this, but I was thinking,
I think there's not really a hard and fast rule for that. It just depends on how many times the group has been playing the game. Where like if it's our like second or third time playing a game, like usually I'm okay with something like that, because it's like, yeah, we're not all familiar with the complexities of the game, right? Like you could have legit been like, oh, I was planning on doing this, but crap, I got overwhelmed with the amount of choices and I forgot to do it. But like if this is a game we've been playing regularly for months or years, like at a certain point, it's like, well, no, what your moves should be. Like once you commit to it, you've committed to it. Like kind of like in chess, right? When you take your hand off the piece, that's it. You made your move.
Yep.
So like after a certain level of expertise, like you made your move, that was your move. Like we've been teaching each other. We should all know what we're doing at this point.
I'm just curious, like the Secret Cabal guys, the beer mongers. Well, beer mongers is closed now because of the pandemic and all that. They just ran out of business, but.
Yes, we know the Secret Cabal guys. Quit dropping names here.
It's messed up that they closed. The Beer Mongers was a cool bar, but these guys, like we played together all the time, but it was constantly new games, and it was very rare that we played older. A game we played more than once. There's a couple times, but very rare. So I'm not. I don't know what it's like to be with another group that's been playing long term together.
And again, I think it just comes down to your play group, right? Like you kind of determine that with the people that you play regularly with, where you kind of you get to know each other's play styles, and okay, this is a situation where takebacks are allowed, or this is a situation where no, like you should have known what you were doing, and sorry, like them's the breaks on that particular game.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I presented this to people before, and I just and it was to, but there's people in here that haven't heard this question before, so I want to ask you this. So Dominant Species, one of my favorite games. It's a very heavy, very involved, but very elegant game designed by the late great Chad Jensen. Dominant Species, like on the second or third turn of a game, a player at my table, we're playing this game. And this is, like I said, it's a 2-hour plus game. Craig, he is my buddy Craig, he put himself in a spot where basically I could take a single action that would wipe out most of his, because it's an area control thing where you're basically building up your species on this board. Like, because he put himself in a situation where I could just basically kick his leg out from underneath him, and there's no way he'd be able to recover. There's no way he could win. I mean, basically, like, so if I did it, I would ruin the rest of the game for him, because there would just be no reason for him to play. And he said, if you do that, I'm going to spend the rest of this game making every single possible move that I have to make sure you don't win. That's all he said. And it was just too delicious for me not to do it, so I did it. So he made suboptimal moves the rest of the game, just basically undercutting me, doing whatever he possibly could do to make sure that I would win. And I ended up losing by 2 points. So basically, if he hadn't done it, I would have won.
So you say.
I am a very good Dominant Species player. So it's one of the few games I am like really, really good at, that I always like, this conflict, and I'm able to do it for a while. But anyway,
you should teach it.
In that game, now
Oh,
in
please
that
do.
game,
Please do.
It does play 2. It does play 2, but it's best with 4. In that game, should I have not taken that play, or
No.
and should Craig have, because he finished dead last, should he have tried to see if he could have recovered and played to the best of his ability, or should he have done what he did?
It depends on the group,
Yeah.
I think, because there are people, if you do that, they would just be like, well, I'm not playing anymore. Like,
Right. They'll just leave.
right, to be like this, we have another hour and a half left, and if this is the way the game is going to be, I'm done. Like, I'm leaving. You know, so I think it depends on your group. I mean, if you two were, you know, it depends on your relationship and what effect it had on the other players in the game, right? Like, so I think it's situational. Like, he threatened you, and you went, okay, bring it on, and you took the move, knowing full well that it probably wasn't an idle threat. So you knew exactly what you're getting into. I don't know, like, I guess it just kind of depends on your play group. If it was 4 strangers playing and that were to happen, I guarantee you that story would have went a different way.
I should have specified. There was like 6 of us that were there all the time, but there's constantly like 10 other people coming in and out. So it's not like we constantly play together. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really is a situational thing. Like there is no right answer to that. Like, it just depends on who are the people you're playing with. You know, as Shane just said, like that's the important thing. And so, like, not to get on the soapbox, but like as a play group, like, you should work on figuring that out. Like, what is our style of playing games, right? Like, how does each person like to play games? Because you'll be much more likely to have fun playing your games if you do that. Like, if you know, okay, this person really likes to be competitive and these 3 other people like to be, you know, cooperative, well, you should probably find a way to make that work, because otherwise the competitive person is going to be really pissed and the cooperative people are going to be really pissed because they're never on the same page. Like, you have to understand each other and what you're looking to get out of the games. And I say that as someone who, our play group played, as I've said before, the Game of Thrones card game for way longer than we should have, and we always left mad. It was never a good experience.
So why do you play it?
I don't know. I honestly could not tell you why we kept playing it. It did not matter who won. Like, multiple people would win, but it always ended with us upset at each other and vowing we would never play that game again. Yet we'd play it next week. It's like, why are we doing this?
I don't understand.
It's like a challenge.
Yeah.
We'd invested so much in building our decks and the cards, and we're like, maybe this time it'll be different, and it was never different.
Well, at some point, wouldn't you just say, like, let's just not play it like this? I mean, I don't know.
Eventually we got to the point where we just refused to play it. We're like, look, we're not going to end in a good place. Like, we're just going to play other games.
I've been in games where we're like, let's stop. You know, all but one person. You know, all but one person. We're like, this isn't fun. Cut it. You know, but that one person.
It's well, and then again, it gets back to your play group. Is like, you know, is the benefit to that one person worth the detriment to everyone else that's playing? And that's something only your play group can answer. Like, there is no right or wrong answers. You guys.
I just figured. I thought he was being a crybaby. Anyway.
But you were the one who lost, and you remembered that.
Well, yeah, but I'm also very comfortable knowing that I would have crushed everybody at the table if he hadn't done that. Because, like I said, I only lost by like 2 points. I mean, so that was going to be mine regardless. I mean, it was just. So I know.
I would say there's really no way to know.
Oh yeah, of course you would, because what. Yeah, it's like, what, you having a little bit of joy there, Lance? Let me just take it.
So Lance, would you say it's the same way? Would you say it's the same way I know we would have won the Super Bowl if?
Hey, you moved out of your comfy chair. You moved out of your comfy chair there. Did somebody send you away?
No, because my laptop was almost out of juice, so I had to move over to the couch.
And you have a sign that says "Rock on Tour," which means an engaging teller of tales.
It's a band. It's a great band.
Jack White's band.
Yep.
Boring.
Did you say boring?
Whatever happened to his wife?
Who?
Jack White.
He never had Meg White?
Yeah.
That's not his wife. He said it
his
was
wife.
his sister, but it's also not his sister.
It was his wife.
Oh, maybe that was his wife.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
He said he was it was his sister when they first.
Well, that was their
There's
shtick
some
at
weird
first,
things.
right?
And then I guess they didn't last very long as a couple. And then I guess they didn't really get along well as a band because, you know.
Imagine that. He went to a bunch of things and he was a musician, so he probably like was. Yeah, anyway, as what did not to be dirty or anything, but what did Chris Rock say? A man is as loyal as his options.
My wife just filled that in for you, Lance.
What?
I said my wife just finished the saying for you.
Yeah, a man is as loyal as his options. Just like because what did Bill Burr say? He said it's just reprehensible what Tiger Woods did. Just reprehensible what Tiger Woods. Yeah, because you regularly go to work and you have buses full of Swedish bikini models throwing their underwear at you. Yeah, just like
it's an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, just
For
just
some
repre-
people.
Yeah. No. Yeah, your wife's funny. But that was I always thought it was a very funny line.
Nope.
As loyal as his options. The thing is that games are, whenever you sit down at a table, there's a dynamic and there's almost like, you hate to say big words like social contract or whatever, but I'll make it plain. Whenever you sit down at a table, whether it's with your buddies or whether you're at a convention or whatever, you're all there like, hey, let's actually have fun and not be shitty. And then, but I've had so many times, and there's somebody at the table that's like just been shitty, like and it's usually at conventions, people I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, and it isn't that like, I mean, it's just like you get that person who's just not, they're just not clued into the game, or they're like half on their phone, and they when they're being taught the game, and then they're like in the second turn of the game. So what does this space do? Do I get two actions here? And you're like, well, this is great. When I told you how to teach the game 15 minutes ago, but you were trying to show the guy next to you some funny YouTube video.
Right.
Just like, I mean, so it's just, I don't know.
Well, I think the nuance there is that your fun shouldn't come at the expense of other people's fun. Like, we're all sitting down at the table to have fun as a group. And that's not to say you can't have competitive games. You absolutely can have competitive games while still having a good time.
Somebody wrote a book like 3 or 4 years ago that basically the entire book was like the unwritten rules of tabletop gaming or something like that. And like every chapter in that book was like basically, don't be a fucking asshole. That was like basically every, and I was like, and more credit, and all the credit in the world to people who wrote that book. I don't even know who it was, but I mean, it was like, because they sold thousands of copies and probably made some good, decent cash off of it. And there probably were people out in the world that needed to be fucking told, don't be a fucking asshole when you're playing this game. But I also was just like, why is this tough to figure out? Why is it tough to just like, hey, pay attention, just like be ready on your turn. It's like, if you need extra time to like figure out, like, you're having like, should I do this? Should I do that? We'll wait. We'll be patient. Don't make it every turn though. Don't make it every turn of you hemming and hawing for 10 minutes. Just like, I don't know. I have one of the best skins for AP though. I mean, because I always like, because I can get really bogged down into like reverse engineering turns and like saying this could get me 7, this could get me 5, this could give me 8, this can give me 6 here, but next turn I can make that into 12, and I'm trying to figure out which is the thing I should do, right? And I'm like, and so if people are like, hey, come on, go, I'm like, I don't like being forced into a decision. I know that's uncommon. A lot of people are just like, just fucking go, it's a game. But I mean, if I don't feel like I'm doing the best possible thing, I don't have fun.
Got me 30-second rule. You got 30 seconds and you get cracked in the head.
Well, your bedroom politics don't really come into this. But
well, it depends on the game too.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm the 7. I'm Irish. Come on, man.
No, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just like, take your time, do the best you can. I mean, But if it's one of the things, but to be fair, like if you spent everybody else's turn on your phone, like sit there, I can just you're like, and then it's your turn. You're like, oh, okay, hold on, I gotta figure out. No, motherfucker, you could have been staring at the table the entire time, and making up your mind. You just that's why, like, everybody always talks about, oh, I'm gonna go to a convention, I'm gonna play all these games, and it's just like, and I always hear like, oh, it's gonna be a great game with all these people, and like before a convention, you always get those like same, and I'm just as bad as anybody. You get that same message from like the oh, hey, maybe this is the convention that we finally sit down and play a game together, and you're like, yeah, that's what we want. No, it won't, because you have like the 3 or 4 people that you can count on to sit at that table with you and to play a game, and you're all going to be just fine with how everybody works. And getting a table like dynamic to work where you're not like screaming at each other, or you're not getting up and just like, oh my fucking god, I never want to play a game with that person ever again in my rest of my life. It's just like you'd rather just play with those people. It's why, like, it's like you have like, and there's even people that I consider friends, like that are like board gamers, like Joel Eddy and stuff like that. We played maybe 2 or 3 games together ever because we don't mesh well as a group. Me and him, it's just we have almost completely different like styles of play, so it just doesn't work. I don't know. I will rarely, if ever, go sit down at a table with randoms. It's nothing, and they might be the coolest, most awesome people in the whole wide world, but I mean, just between the 2 of us, chances are it's not going to mesh. It just won't.
That's part of the reasons I stopped playing board games with a group. I wasn't generous. My focus, the drugs was my focus. Just isn't there. Even before the weed lane, before you say it was the narcotics.
I don't have that problem. I like, if it's a game I'm interested in learning, it doesn't matter who's at the table with me, because I'm learning the game. And yeah, there's people there, and hopefully they can teach me.
For me, as long as the other people are invested in the game, I'll have a good time. Like it's when you get like, and I saw this demoing, games at Gen Con and stuff like that. When you get someone at the table who like just does not want to be there, it's like, we'll just leave. Like we're not forced.
Yeah, I never understood that. Yeah.
Like you don't have to sit here and play the game with us. It's okay. But because that can really drag the experience down, where you're like, you want to be invested in a game and you just can't because someone else is just sucking all the life out of it. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Kevin. Like if I want to learn to play a game, like, or if I'm trying out a new game, like as long as people are cool with each other, like you don't have a raging jerk at the table, like it's fine. Like, let's play.
I mean, even if one of them really knows the game well and does well in the game, at least you learn from what they did.
Right? Yeah, they're teaching you.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate playing that game with the guy who knows the ins and outs of the game.
They may be throwing you in the deep end of the pool when they do that, but
hey, there's no better way to learn than by losing.
Yeah.
Like, there is no better way to learn than by failing at something, because you know exactly what you did wrong, and you're going to make sure you don't do it the next time.
And that game will stick with you because of that.
And on that note, I'm going to say goodnight.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to. It's
yeah, it's almost 1. I mean, Chris, you doing anything? Chris said, "Hey Shane, Chris sent the prototype of his game to you."
Okay. It should get there on Saturday. Let me know if it's not there by like Monday or Tuesday.
You sent it to my personal address?
The one you sent in the Zoom, it was Gray Fox Games Congressional Drive, I think.
Okay, yeah. So that'll be Monday then.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we can wrap up and we can all do our commercials. And just like Chris, everybody go buy Otaku and and wait for his other games to be published and buy those as well. Otaku, you can find that on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com.
Or your local independent bookseller.
Or your local independent bookseller if they happen to be open and around. Yeah, and then Gen Con Online next week. Yeah, next week. So go sign up for Gray Fox Games. We got both. Roy Canada is like so amped up to talk about Last Light, he is just like, "Ugh," like he even posted something on Facebook. He's like, I'm so excited I get to announce something really soon, but I can't announce it right now. He did one of those classic vague book things where everybody then got excited. But Last Light is a 4X game that plays in 90 minutes or less. You played it. What
Oh
did you think?
yeah. That's the one I played, right? That game was awesome. That game was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
Did you win?
because you
I did.
Lance, you really got to bring your A game. I really hope, like maybe you should really try.
I don't care. I just don't care if I win, though. I'm just there to have fun.
I mean,
But I do like winning.
No, I mean I just hope everybody has a good time. My wife has the like the football, like it's like yeah, Sunday football, and it's just like I just hope both teams had a good time. It's just like,
As I said, I'm gonna play to win.
yeah, no. So anyway, so Last Light is that, and it can handle up to 8. So he is hosting. So there are multiple things at Gen Con Online. You can sign up and you can get a first glimpse at that. That is a game that will be coming to Kickstarter probably early 2021.
I would say early mid, somewhere between early mid.
Yeah. So I mean,
2021. Now that might be a little bit longer. I've got so many commitments. I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
You're the owner of the company.
Yeah, I
Why
know,
would
but
he know? He's got minions.
no, it's not that. It's just that I've got so many irons in the fire that it just, whichever one is the hottest at any given time is the one that, it just depends on how far along it is. I will say that I have been working aggressively at the components on this game already, even if we don't launch it for another year, and it is going to be an amazingly gorgeous game.
It's like one of the cool things about it, what Shane's told me about it, is that like, because the game has different planets that you can take over, and the planets will give you different resources, just like most like 4X games when you grab those. But like the planets come in multiple different colors, and like the color of the planet actually represents the resources. And aren't you, we're doing some sort of like a cool plastic kind of swirl look to the planets, right? Because they're like a half planet that will sit on the table. Is that my understanding, or
yeah,
am I totally misrepresenting you?
No, we're going to custom make all the planets. So for the Kickstarter version, all the planets will be done custom with like resin. So think of like really cool dice. You ever like go and pick up a set of dice, you're like, oh my god, look at the swirl and the sparkle effects, this thing looks awesome. That's what the planets are going to look like. So
and then no two will look alike, just like how like your set of dice that are like the blue speckle don't look like his blue speckle, because obviously like it's like when you used to get it's like when you used to get the random well, this is dating myself a little bit, but the old school skateboards where like the speckle back, it was different for each one of them. So I mean, so like, yeah, I mean,
anyway, I just wanted to have an amazing table presence because I think the game is really, really good, and I wanted to have a table presence that is, I want people to kind of, when they see it, go, what is that?
Yeah,
that and Arcana Rising.
Like I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I had a lot of fun too. I mean, I did. Yeah,
I win, but you had a lot of fun.
I finished. I believe. Yeah, dead last. That was where I finished.
It's called Last Light, not Dead Last. Yeah, that's a different game, Lance.
That is a different game. No, but our Arcana Rising, go to greyfoxgames.com/Arcana Rising. You can sign up to be notified upon launch. Day one backers get sleeves for the game, so make sure that if you want to get those, so you can get some free swag. But also you can check it out on Tabletop Simulator, and we'll be playing some more sessions of that this week. Chris can lose to me again. Actually, no, I haven't beaten Chris since the first game.
No, you did. No, you won last time. You won by 2 points.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, suck it.
Like you didn't,
because I got no combos
remember.
whatsoever.
Like you didn't remember.
No, yeah. So I mean, but that launches August 4th, because my boss pulled the Scotty on us all in telling us that we're going to launch this on the 28th. So we were busting our butts to get it launched on the 28th, and he's like, "Nah, I just told you that so you get it done."
God forbid your boss try to get some work out of you.
and it still won't be done properly by the time.
I don't think we just need a few more Kickstarter images, and I think we're good to go. I mean,
hopefully I can get Bruce Lee to draw some stuff.
Jesus. Yes. Our artist,
Dojo.
our artist, unfortunately, Tyler, he's a great guy, but he was practicing. He was in a martial arts, and I think it was no contact. He just did a tumble or something, and he popped a tendon or two in his right shoulder. So,
Ooh, ouch.
yeah, so he's laid up for a little bit. So, but I think he got most of the stuff done. He just needs to do layout, which maybe he could do that left-handed. You know,
It's just gonna be scribbles.
No, he just has to literally like cut and drag stuff. I don't think he has to actually draw anything. Maybe type in some text. We'll hopefully, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
We'll figure
Just
something
cram him
out.
full of Toradol. It works.
If it looks janky, if it looks like Lance did it, you'll know what happened.
Yeah, I got GIMP. I still have GIMP on my my computer. I can use that. I mean, I did a lot of the Taste Minstrel game stuff in GIMP. So it was just I didn't like it, but I did do it. So I mean, but
So
there's
what
a
you're
reason
saying
why
is you're our backup graphics guy.
there's a reason why GIMP is free. Let's also say there's a
Wait,
reason
is your
why.
backup quarterback?
Yeah.
No, it's third string.
But no, I want to ask you that. So with the third string quarterback, do they literally is it literally like they just are the guy that like back before the headsets, they were the ones that just would do the plays by doing the hand signals and wearing the hat and the notebook kind of thing?
Yeah, so your third string quarterback generally runs scout team. Because first string is running with the ones, second string is running with the twos. But they still have to know the offense, for the actual game. But yeah, usually for the game, they'll have the headset on, they'll have the hat, like they'll be calling, helping to call the plays in, so that way they're learning what's going on. But usually there's a reason they're a third string quarterback, as we saw when Joe
of their
Webb
talent.
came in.
I do remember like years ago. This is the Vikings years ago. So I can't remember who the quarterbacks were, like the first string and the second string quarterbacks were, but Brad Johnson, who eventually became the starter, and who also has a Super Bowl ring.
Yep, he was the starter my first year with the Vikings.
Yeah, so Brad Johnson was I remember he was the third string quarterback, and he was the third string quarterback and it was like, that was when we still had Gannon. And he was the backup, and I think Wade Wilson, or God, maybe I don't know who it was, but Brad was the third. And I remember reading in my football prospectus magazine, immediately turned I get my fantasy football magazine, immediately turned to the Vikings and see what they read, and then they were talking about the quarterbacks, and the starter quarterback is so and so, and like this is why they're good or bad or whatever, and then the second string is Rich Gannon, who's still coming along or whatever, and then I remember the one thing was like Brad Johnson, it just said something about his college career, has taken exactly one snap in a Vikings game, and it had this like prognosis or whatever, and prognosis for Brad Johnson was another year of wearing the baseball cap and having the clipboard. That's just like Vikings, it's like that. Yeah, clipboard, marking off the plays.
Oh man! Well, that's like there's the guy for the Bears, right? Clipboard Jesus. I forget his name, but he's been the third string quarterback for the Bears, or he was the third string quarterback for the Bears for 14 years or something like that.
Well, I mean, what a gig,
right?
What a gig! I mean,
yeah.
It's like
so much money never got hit.
Yeah, I mean, what a gig! It's and admittedly he plays, but who's that idiot he always has the giant beard. No, I can't remember I remember I had to choose between him, first year of my fantasy football league, the one I'm in. I had to choose between him and Colt McCoy as my third quarterback, just in case somebody why can't I think of his name?
The big beard?
The big beard guy, yeah.
That's right, Fitzpatrick?
Fitzpatrick, yeah. I had to choose between Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah, I remember I had to choose between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Colt McCoy, and I took Colt McCoy because he had the cooler name. But I remember Ryan Fitzpatrick, that guy, I think I told Shane this once time. That guy just lives on not giving an F about anything. Literally, He's like, I have so much money, you know, and he's just like, and he goes out there and it's just like, yeah, sure, throw it. Oh, hey, I had another 5 touchdown game. Oh, great. Yeah. And then he shows up and he dresses up in like whatever other guy on his team's clothes. He has all his gold jewelry on. He comes out and gives us things. He thinks it'll be funny. And then the next game he goes out and like throws for 76 yards, 4 interceptions. He's like, they're still paying me. Just like,
He's the quarterback for my team.
yeah. No, he signed like the big time money to come and play. Like, isn't it like a 2-year deal and like 3rd year's optional or something like that? Like they just, yeah, the Finns. I mean, they just gave him he's been in the league now, what, 9 years?
It's Patrick.
More than that.
No, more than that. He's been in the league at least like 14, I think.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Because he was in the league when I came in the league.
Google it.
I'm
Ryan.
gonna Google it right now.
It's Patrick.
Christian,
All
do
quarterback.
you guys have like
05.
an alumni or something where you just get together?
05.
Okay, I was wrong. 2005.
Yep. See, I told you. He came in the year I came in. Yeah, he's been around forever. He's like the quintessential journeyman quarterback. Like he will never be a number 1 guy, but he can absolutely fill in.
What are you talking about? He was the number 1 guy in
I'm talking about
2015.
Super Bowls.
He went 2015. He threw for 3,900 yards, 31 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. I mean, that's not horrible. I mean, he was playing for the New York Jets, which I'm sure sucked.
I think
How many wins did they have?
That's when they like 10-6. That was that last year that they actually were like, and then what's his face? Their coach. He said we're going because they were gonna face the Patriots in the playoffs. He's like, we're going to New England. We're gonna win, and then they lost like $1 billion. Yeah, it's like the last thing you do is you give Belichick like billboard material. Yeah,
Was Rex Ryan still the coach? Was he still the head coach?
Yes, that's what Rex Ryan was there, and he was like, "We're gonna go there. We're gonna win."
And you did not.
No,
win.
you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he'll have a job for a while though, like until he just can't do it anymore because there's always going to be some team that's like, well, we need a guy.
Yep.
We don't have a guy.
He'll probably have like a 21, 22 year career because like he'll just keep filling in. Like he won't be the starter, but he'll be the backup.
Yeah, I don't think he even cares.
No, why would you?
So here, I forgot to mention this, but this is something there's nothing really to discuss. But did you see that Miniature Market added a new product tag for a lot of their products called Last Chance, which it was like, this is the last chance you be able to buy this. We aren't ever going to restock it, kind of thing.
Oh, I thought. I did not know that they did that. No.
They just and I was just like, and it was like,
and I'm sure it works.
Well, I'm sure there's people who are just like, oh, geez, I wasn't going to get this, but I should get this. You know, I mean, but then again, there's also going to be one of those things where it's like, there's a reason why it's last chance. Just because nobody wants it.
It wasn't selling before, so hopefully you fools will buy it now that we're telling you it's the last chance.
It's the $1 DVD bin at Walmart.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love those DVDs. I mean, yeah. I mean, think of every game store that exists and how long games languish on their on their shelves.
Okay, so back when Fry's was still a thing and Electronics Boutique was still a thing, like I loved browsing like these games are on clearance, like you they're not quite free, but they might as well be, because occasionally you'd run across a copy of something where you're like, oh, that actually looks kind of interesting. I'll give that a shot. And it was like interesting for a couple hours, and you're like, oh man, this is jank. I can't play this anymore.
Like, darn it, I know why it was $2 now.
Right? Yeah, but there was always that thrill of maybe this time it'll be the diamond. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what did Dennis Miller say? It's like 50% off of shit is still shit.
All right, well, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah,
right.
let's go to bed, everybody. Thanks for watching, as always. See you. I'll talk to you tomorrow, Shane.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Adios.